Have you seen we're at 26.
Everyone, because we're getting started. I don't know. No, the playground.
Three, two, one. Of all the meetings to forget my gavel. Anyway.
Table.
Yeah. Well,
He banged on the table. He did quite well.
Okay. Welcome to the special June 18th full board meeting of Community Board 7 Manhattan. First up is a vote on our agenda. We'll do it by voice vote. So moved. Thank you. Seconded. Aye. All in favor? Any opposed? Jane. Okay. I will move right into the chair's report. I'm required by law to state that we've granted waivers to attend remotely to see Ready for unexpected travel and for Kristen Berger for illness. So welcome to the last Community Board 7 full board meeting.
The elevator and some trouble waiting now.
Okay, sorry. Just have a seat if you can find one. So welcome to the last Community Board 7 meeting until September. Our summer break begins after tomorrow's Health and Human Services meeting and ends with our full board meeting on September 3rd. However, keep an eye out for one or more possible ad hoc joint committee meetings of DCI and transportation over the summer. The city deadline for temporary open dining setups to apply for DOT permits is August 3rd. So we are likely to see a flurry of applications around that time. Given the time limits for our comments imposed by law, and as we voted last month, the committee decision of that joint committee will be sent to DOT in the absence of a full board vote. This is a business session only meeting. We've already held one public session this month on June 4th. This extra meeting is scheduled to clear the docket of time-sensitive resolutions passed by committees in the month of June, so the formal board position on these matters is clear before we break for summer. As always, we will hear comments from the public that are directly related to the items noticed on the agenda. We have a packed agenda in a cramped space on a hot night. I urge that the public and board members limit themselves to 1 2-minute comment on any given item. Presenting co-chairs are as always exempt from this requirement, but I urge them to be succinct. The city budget for fiscal year 2025 will be adopted in the coming days for the new fiscal year beginning July 1st. I would like to call out 2 community board 7 advocacy efforts to influence the outcome. Yesterday, we sent a letter developed by YEL calling for a full restoration for library funding for the New York Public Library. And tonight, we have a resolution in support of the City Council's Homes Now initiative to fund 2 affordable housing programs in HPD's budget. I look forward to seeing all board members at our social event planned for the evening of June 24th, and Max will provide further details on that in his district manager's report. Max, over to you.
Oh, I'm here hiding behind the column. I'll be brief. So just a reminder to everyone to sign in, use QR code. There's a couple of those being passed around. Make sure you sign in so you're kind of being here. Also, we've only had 5 people sign up for the potluck, so make sure to RSVP and sign up for that as well. And that's going to be on May 24th, 6 p.m. Nope, June 24th, Monday, 6 p.m. 71st and Riverside. It's kind of this area under the West Side Highway. People from here to and then tomorrow the board office is going to be closed for Juneteenth. And I take the opportunity to say that every elected official, pretty much that we work with, has reached out and said it should pass the city a yes, vote yes for that tonight. I'm not telling you how to vote, but I'm saying that DCP, most of them have, and that is a message I committed to pass along to you all, that they said they want us to be very careful about filling out all the itemizations, but also to vote yes. And back is Beverly.
I just have a question, but I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
No, I just have a question that the city council will be accepting comments from community boards on the big resolutions. Yes, until July 24th. So while we are not meeting, it is possible for the community board to continue to send in comments or anything else. And they have said that. That's clear.
Thank you, Ethel. We really haven't gotten quite that far in the agenda, but I understand what you're saying. And if we have a adopted resolution on item number 1 coming out of tonight, as per our usual practice, we can do follow-up letters on issues that we identify going forward, and that will be through our normal process for developing letters. Thank you. We are voting digitally, are we not, Alex?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So we're up to the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve.
So,
Seconded, excellent. Yeah. Can we vote verbally on approving the minutes from last month?
yeah,
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. We should now start with the, probably the most lengthy item of the evening. I'm sure there, because it has been such a short turnaround to try to reach a good consensus on these matters. I'd like to call on Housing and Land Use Committee co-chairs to take us through the city of yes for housing opportunity.
Right, I want to apologize for the length of this meeting. It's a very complicated proposal by the city, and as you can see from our ongoing discussion of it, since the publication of the draft resolution, there is one proposed amendment, which I think is important to vote on separately. To add to the resolution. And as I understand it, there's another proposed amendment that is going to be made concerning mandatory parking. So
And there may be
others. Yeah, the floor will be open for amendments. Hopefully not too many people will take advantage of that, but it will be open. The first amendment by Mark Diller, there's a written transcript of it that's been handed out. Unfortunately, we couldn't distribute it before tonight, except for the members of the committee. So I'm going to ask Mark to read it himself and if necessary, explain it.
Are we able to project it on Zoom? Yes. Okay, can you wait until it's there so folks can follow along who may not?
Yeah, it's a little hard to read
Either in
on this because it's in color and of course the photocopier doesn't color.
Okay.
Okay, awesome color there. That's great. Right. Okay.
you need to hold the mic.
Okay, thank you. So as you perhaps can see, this first paragraph is the black is the existing text that the committee has come up with. The blue is what I am proposing to add and subtract.
Item of the 10 items on the right.
Should everybody have that?
On the sort of top of page 2.
Okay. So the first correction is in the body for the first proposal, not a correction. The first proposal is in the body and it talks about the UAP program. And it adds that the UAP program could substantially increase the percentage of needed affordable housing. I believe it should be. If it included an opportunity to construct affordable housing off-site. This is necessary since UAP as proposed provides little inducement to developers to incur the expense, delay, and complication of including affordable housing if every square foot added must be affordable. And then what I propose we continue with after that paragraph is the following. All of this would be new. Other than UAP, the proposal offers a variety of provisions aimed at reducing the costs, number, and complexity of approvals, procedures, and delays involved in constructing housing units. All such provisions confer a benefit, and that benefit should be conditioned on an appropriate percentage of the housing units created being affordable under one of the city's existing inclusionary housing programs or a new counterpart. Since the proposal does not condition these benefits on a portion of such units being affordable, MCB's overall recommendation to the proposal is conditional unfavorable, with the conditions being that the proposal be modified to require appropriate levels of affordability for the housing units to be created, and B, the specific modifications included in MCB's responses to the individual aspects of the proposal called out for our review and included below. And if I may add one clarifying point, and then I'll surrender the mic. When our decision, whatever it is voted upon and ready to be uploaded, it is inserted into a portal on the DCP website, on the Department of City Planning website. And that portal requires us to have a single recommendation. It's a drop-down menu, and the choices are favorable, conditional favorable, unfavorable, conditional unfavorable, and then I think there's like waiver of a recommendation. Obviously, no one does. Even if we go through, there's a proposal for a checklist of number of different call-out items, but there is a requirement that we have a single recommendation. And I would suggest to you that that recommendation, given all that the resolution contains, should be conditional unfavorable. Thanks.
Okay, is there any?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm not 100% sure we need to fill in that blank. I got today access to a comment from Eric Boxford of the city planning, suggesting that they could leave that blank. We wanted to. The place where we say what our overall position is on city gas. In other words, where conditional unfavorable is what the resolution amendment that we have on the table right now is asking. I think it would be we could probably is there somebody here?
Yeah, Beverly, I just texted you. Someone from DCP is here, not here in person, but on Zoom to.
Okay, so we should get clarification directly on that, but I also have another point. I think whatever we would input as an overall summary, whether it's favorable, unfavorable, conditional, unfavorable, conditional, favorable, which are some of the options that city planning has provided. There's a downside to almost every one of them. And the downside to conditional unfavorable is that folks across the city who have concerns about any changes to the zoning, any provisions that would increase public housing, will then have the opportunity to say, well, even in Community Board 7 in Manhattan, it's unfavorable to city gas because there's that reduction rather than the detail that has gone into all of the work that the committee has done and which is far more nuanced. It would be useful, I think, to consider whether or not it would be possible to leave that blank and essentially let stand the nuanced approach that we have taken and that city planning would look to as essentially our position.
Before we hear from Cowley and Murat, there's another lighting representative from DCP on one screen or another.
Hi.
Behind you. Okay.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Lara Marita. I'm Senior Director for Community Planning and Engagement at the Department of City Planning. I just joined tonight because I know there was some consideration of just procedural things. So I'm happy to answer questions and be supportive of the meeting tonight in any way that I can be.
Choose not to respond. Richard, if we choose not to respond on the portal in the way that the DCP is suggesting, will our resolution still be considered by DCP and the State Council?
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Can I go?
Yeah.
Sorry. So absolutely. We definitely want you to upload any material that can help us understand how you feel about the different components of the proposal. Of course, we want you to be able to submit as resolution, but the worksheet is there, and I can drop it into the chat if you need it, to really talk about the nuance of it all. We know that there's a lot of thoughts on this, and if you saw Dan Garodnick's letter from the Economic Opportunity, there's really, this is really being used to make sure that we're modifying it to include what we're hearing at the community boards. So that would be at the CPC, and this will also be sent to the council as it approaches that vote. So you can, we can, whatever is best for you to be able to submit, but you do need to submit through the land use portal for us to be able to record it.
Is there a method to submit through the portal of just submitting a resolution and not filling out the blanks?
Sure, but I also would say that if you submit just a resolution that doesn't have the conditions and understanding of your stance on each one, it makes it very difficult for the CPC or for the council to really understand what you were considering under this and how they would want to modify it with that information. So it's really good to be able to hear how you feel about each component and what do you like and what are things that you would like to see modified.
Thank you. Shelley, and by the way, Mark's resolution, in my view, doesn't depend on whether we have to fill out the portal or not. It stands on its own. And had it been submitted at the committee meeting, I'm sure that we would have approved it. Shelley?
Okay, we have a serious issue here. And I appreciate Beverly's thinking on this. But I'm trying to look at how it's going to be looked on by DCP and the rest of the city. If we find things objectionable, like no incentives for affordable housing and other things within the policy, and we don't put any evaluation of it, it's going to not be taken as serious when you look across the city. So far, you'll see yeses or nos, okay? And a no or an unfavorable, conditional unfavorable, says, look at what we're upset about. Right. Look at what we want changed, okay? And I think that's very important for our elected officials and for the people at DCP looking at it.
I totally agree with Shelley. If I can add one thing to it, when the city of Yes for economic development came before DCP, and there were a lot of no votes, that they went back to the drawing board and looked at things. So I think we're not looking at this whole city. We are Community Board 7. We are looking solely at our district. We are not looking at Queens. We're not looking at CB8. We're not looking at Midtown. We're looking solely at CB7. I think we have to really concentrate on what's right for our district. Thank you.
Right here. This discussion, by the way, is not relevant to the substance of the motion. It really relates to what we do after we pass it. Yeah.
Okay.
Louisa.
Yes. A lot of people have looked at this and taken it apart and tried to rebuild it. And I just wanted to say the thing that really disturbed me about it, there are many good things about this. However, it was presented to us as a way to deal with affordable housing, and it just doesn't. In the whole 1,000 plus pages, there was only one program that even mentions affordable housing, and that is the Universal Affordability Preference, which we cannot do in our district. It is not permitted in condos according to the success of the 421A that came out of Albany. And in the actual text, you cannot put rental housing and homeowner housing in the same building. A lot of this just doesn't make sense. What really upsets me about this, that dismays me, is that is voluntary. Before this, when the city and DCP wanted to do something like quality housing, it was made mandatory. There was nothing in here about mandatory affordable housing. If we are, as citizens of the city, are giving developers all of these benefits, and there are many benefits in this for developers, they have almost no quid pro quo to give us back affordable housing, and that's what we're asking for. We said that is the most important thing in our district. It's not here. And frankly, doing some kind of affordable housing with little houses behind bigger houses in Queens is not going to give us affordable housing. So this is what I feel very, very strongly about. It has to be managed.
Just like briefly,
We'll get you on a mic for the people at home to hear.
so. Sorry, I don't want to follow, you know, okay, thanks a lot. I just wanted to say briefly that I completely support the last speakers, Roberta, Louisa, and Mark doing, drafting this, and of course Shelley, and because actually this occurred in part by the committee's work, and then several of us reviewing in detail some of the clauses here, and what we were coming to almost reluctantly, it was that it is not strong and applicable enough for Community Board 7. I would venture to say, but I'm not stressing it, that it isn't good enough to, in fact, encourage and mandate affordable housing around the city. But speaking for CB7, and I will not go into our characteristics, you know them, this welcome amendment by Mark, which I will tell you informally, we reviewed around and looked and said, hey, this is something we should include. It does not mean that we are throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but we are doing something that a community board should do. And I certainly would stress that it's an amendment to be passed.
Thank you. Linda?
Yeah, I'm probably one of the only few people here, you can probably hear me. I'm one of the few people here who actually has boots on the ground, and I work with developers and I work with property owners. And a lot of the property owners, commercial property owners with whom I work, are looking forward to City of Yes. They're not based in the district. That's the caveat. They are primarily in Midtown West, former Garment Center, and they're all talking about affordable housing, and that is the direction in which they're going. Maybe it is not germane to, or maybe we don't have the space, the types of buildings, commercial, because that's a lot of it has to do with conversion. So, commercial to residential conversion. Maybe it's not applicable to our area simply because we don't have the property stock. I can't speak to that, but there's so much about City of Yes that is good, that will build housing, affordable housing in Manhattan as well as Queens. So that's CB7.
We're only concerned with CB7.
Why? Because we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, let's right, up until now, we've had one speaker at a time. Let's continue that.
So who would you like to nominate next?
If there are no further, yeah, Adam.
I want to say a couple things. I know I'm very new to being on a community board, but when I decided to join and apply for the community board, I thought our role was to represent what we think. And some of what I've heard tonight is that our role isn't to say what we think. Our role is to politic and, say that, well, we're going to vote no so that other people can change things after that sort of thing. And I don't think that's what our role is. We have a resolution that says what the housing committee says we feel about each of these items. And what will happen is the Department of City Planning will look at that resolution and they will see the detailed thought that we put into each of these things. And that is how they will make changes. They don't make changes based on us saying, putting a big no at the top and then them coming back and saying, okay, so what do you actually think? They look at the actual comments that we leave and they read through them. And I work for the government, right? Not for the city government, but at the federal level. And When we look at something and we get public comment, we go through every email and we look at that and we see how is this gonna change how we shape these things. So there's no need for us to say like yes or no to somehow get more of an ability to influence the city. Our role is one of 59 different community boards, and we are supposed to represent how we feel about this. And the idea that we can't speak to these things that will influence other communities, I don't think makes sense either. They're talking about proposals that will change CB7. We can talk about proposals that will change other parts of the city. You know, to be on a community board, you don't have to just live in the district, right? You could work in the district. I hope most of us don't spend every waking hour on the Upper West Side, as great as that would be. We are all citizens, well, actually, I don't know. We are all residents of New York City, and that gives us a right to opine about the whole city. So that's kind of what I want to say. Our role is to
Not here.
take all of this and say what we feel. There's nothing politicking or anything around that. I also would like to say that I agree that there needs to be more affordable housing, but there also just needs to be more housing in general. And that while it would be great if we could mandate affordable housing, it's also important just to allow more apartments to be built. For those of you who came to the housing committee meetings when we had public comment, we heard about people who were coming and telling their life stories and trying to find housing in New York City and how they fear being priced out of this neighborhood. People who want to have kids, but are worried that there's not going to be apartment for them, regardless of affordable or not affordable. So looking at just from an affordable housing perspective, I think is short-sighted and a mistake. And then the final thing I wanted to say is that as a member of the housing committee, I would prefer in the future if when people on the housing committee are going to bring forward amendments, we do it in a public way together with the committee instead of having private meetings outside of it where some subset of the housing committee gets together. I think there are real challenges with that, and that's not the type of committee that I want to serve. So, thank you.
And by the way, point of information, there was no meetings and there was no argument like that. That's misinformation.
So point is that the committee is called the Land Use and Housing Committee. It's not just the housing.
No, it's called the housing.
Stand corrected.
If I'm limited to 2 minutes, I don't know how much I can say, but I think with all respect to Adam, if he is mistaken and was basically correct, we are appointed and serve to represent our community within the district. We know what its boundaries are. And our resolution should be tailored to the needs and interests and concerns about our district. What came, I don't think I'm going to vote for the main resolution. I'm not sure yet about the amendment. But I would just say a couple of things. One is that I believe Mark and his colleagues spoke are absolutely correct that we should, whether we need to or not, shoehorn ourselves into the either totally negative or negative conditions box for reasons that I don't have time to explain. But what came across most strongly to me, and I attended every one of the 3 very long substantive meetings that our committee had, I'm a member of the committee, is that the City of Yes proposals, number one, for a number of reasons, no time to explain, will not produce any private affordable housing within our district because of its various constraints and during this a lot of reasons. On the other hand, it will provide incentives for private developers to build taller and bigger condominiums in our district, which is precisely what we have many of things, too many of already, and no affordable units for the people who spoke to us, who would love to grow up here, who would love to stay in our district and eat. They don't have to be designated as affordable units, but at least units they can afford to rent or to buy. That was the overwhelming sense of the committee, was that, in my view, was that the disadvantages created by the incentives to add bulk in various ways to private developers outweighed any possible new affordable housing in our district because of our condominiums. You can't finance it, so I think that our entire resolution is
misplaced in not making that point strongly and doing so. I'll just say one other thing, although we say yes to some things, we say no to some things, we say no strongly to some things. Things we say yes, for the most part, don't directly concern us. But when you put it all together, there's so much that doesn't work for us and indeed exposes us to the risk of more big, bad, taller things that we don't want. That overall, I strongly support the idea that we should do something that looks like a street.
Howard? I think I've said this more times than anything else. Microphone. And so I'll say it to the microphone. The perfect should not be the enemy of the good. Perfect is not happening. What this does is it brings more housing. It increases the amount of housing that can be built in the city. And that may not be in CB7, but it affects CB7. To the extent the supply of housing in the city goes up, there's less upward pressure on rents. And so again, it's not perfect. It's not an affordable housing plan for our community, but it will, in my opinion, put less pressure on rents going up. And for that reason, I support it.
Alex? Yeah, I mean, I agree with Adam and Howard. Obviously, CB7 is designed as a vacuum. If CB8 bulldozed all housing, CB7 rent will go up, right? Like, obviously, we're all together in one city. We're also confusing capital A affordable housing with lowercase a affordable housing. Lowercase a is like everyone's rent is less expensive. Capital A is like I get a part of a program. That has not had the greatest track record over the last 10 years. What this program tries to do is increase overall supply to give us lowercase a affordable housing. And so, yes, I'm a big fan of City of the S, and I don't think we should add this amendment because I think it will restrict the supply.
Richard, this is Alex on Zoom, if you could hear me. I just wanted to let you all know that Seema has her hand raised on Zoom.
Thank you. Well, Jamie and then Seema.
Okay, so I want to say that, first of all, no man is an island and no community board exists on its own. We're part of one city. I feel, this is my belief. I do believe we represent our constituents and our district, but we can't put up a border around Community Board 7 and believe that it's going to survive without, as I think you just said, Community Board 8 or Community Board 5 or any of the other community boards. Upward pressure, downward pressure. That's what I believe. We have a housing crisis. Yes, we have an affordable housing crisis, but we also just have a housing crisis in the city. More units means more housing. Again, that's my opinion. But if we build more housing, we'll have more housing. I'm not an economist, but it just seems pretty straightforward to me. Under 2 minutes, which is very rare.
Want to reserve?
I will see.
My turn. So I wanted to, I appreciate going after Jamie. You know, she said something very eloquent and compelling at the housing meeting, which was, this is City of Yes for housing opportunity, not for affordable housing opportunity. So the premise is the more housing that we build, the more affordable all of our housing is together. And as you know, we have a dramatic crisis of affordability, which has only gotten worse in the past decade. Our housing development is not keeping track of, it's not tracking with the housing demand. And we had many people, I want to say almost 10 people, who came to speak at our first meeting very passionately about how they grew up here on the Upper West Side, would like to see their families raised on the Upper West Side, but literally don't think that they can do that because they can't find an apartment that they can afford, even as young married couples. So that was very, very powerful to me. And I think that we need to sort of pay attention to that. The last point I would make is City of Yes in all of its incarnations seems to be about cutting red tape. And so while I am concerned with things here and there, I think I very strongly support this. I think it will provide us with more housing and make it happen faster. And I think that those two things are very much in need, even in our district.
I think for me, I just want to voice. Sorry, I think for me, one thing I would voice is that my concern is just that there's the lack of mandates for the affordable housing. I understand that it's not just affordable housing, being overall housing. My concern is that building more housing is great, but if we're building taller buildings and bigger buildings, more housing is just going to be housing for the super wealthy and people that we already have a glut of that type of housing that's either unused or unutilized in this community and throughout the city. And so while I'm in favor of more housing, the lack of mandates for affordable housing to me doesn't offset the costs that come to the greater community, both within CB7 and the rest of the city, by not requiring that to a greater level.
Good. Just to put this in context, and for those who have more experience than me, this seems to be one of the most comprehensive rezoning ULURPs that we've had in New York since the 1960s or 70s. So it's no surprise that we're having a lot of concerns about and questions. I mulled over the 1,200-page document and got through as much as I could and trying to do documents here. So I am troubled by some things. I think the theory here is that it's whether or not any of us subscribe to this is do all boats rise with the tide, right? Because if you don't have mandates and you are helping everybody, right? And I appreciate Alex's comment about if something happened in CBA, does it affect us? Yes, you can't have a no peeing section in a swimming pool, right? Because sorry for the image, but I think that's the point, right? And but voluntary versus mandatory. I know that's a real dilemma, but I was involved in the community from my involvement with the Mitchell-Lama program. I was the president of my Mitchell-Lama building. I was on the Mitchell-Lama task force with the then Manhattan Borough Presidency, Virginia Fields. And the Mitchell-Lama program was volunteer. 421A is voluntary. 485X is voluntary. So the question is creating incentives. Now, I'm just saying this is a dilemma. I'm just posing this. I'm not, saying that one way or the other, but these are the things that contemplate. I appreciate cutting the red tape, which I think is strong. So, look, I think that this is an extremely challenging thing, and even to do it in such a short period of time, it really troubles me. So I appreciate what Howard said about the perfect not being the enemy of the good. And in my humble opinion, I think there's more good about the city of Yes than bad. I'm inclined to support it, but that doesn't say that I'm not troubled by it quite a bit. I don't know what I've said here, but I'm just trying to add a little.
Thank you. I'm trying to get before we have other people have a chance to speak. I just want to say that paradoxically, I agree with almost everything everybody said. There's good, there's bad in this proposal. And that's why the resolution is 8 pages, single page long. We've tried to write down everybody's point of view. Yes, this is good. No, this is bad. We may have missed 1 or 2 points. Some people may disagree with the emphasis, but it was the best we could do with a very complex subject where there are very strong opinions. Everybody on this board, by definition, has a strong opinion about everything. So, that's why the resolution is as long as it is. We didn't think that doing something that just responded to a portal yes, no, maybe was of any benefit to anyone.
Here, I thought it was because you were verbose.
Yeah.
So my observation is that there has been no overall change in zoning since about 1961. I imagine that there won't be another change, hopefully change for another 40 years. or more. And so I think we need to be careful. I'm not saying which way we should go. That's not the point is that if there are things that we don't like, and things that other boards don't like, maybe we need some more care or you give it the imprimatur of this.
Louisa. We're going back around. Yeah. And.
Oh, yeah. And then, wow. Okay, yes, I can speak loudly. So, I think I agree with Richard and I kind of agree with a lot of what's been said. So I just had a simple point or question. I think the first is that I think we all agree that, and I live upon one at Twitter Amsterdam myself, where these mega units that are purchased by, I don't know where the money comes from, but there's a lot of people not living there. That really doesn't help anyone. I don't know if anyone is really supportive of that. I would say I'd be surprised if that's something that people are excited about here. But secondly, you know, here the affordable, it's not defined. We don't know exactly what that means. Is that rent control? Is it not? I think
it is
defined. It is defined. Okay, I didn't. And I think making that clear such that we're encouraging units that people are actually gonna live in and use. If that's what is captured in that definition, I think that's great. And I think that's a little bit more easy to kind of I think meet that standard as opposed to something that's more strict. I think that would just be my thoughts. And any clarification on that, I think was
Louisa. Oh, no.
Hi, also sorry, I got here a little late, so if anything's repetitive, I apologize, but I guess I just want to say that I don't want us to lose the forest for the trees. We keep saying we support affordability. I think it is incumbent upon us as a board to go on the record and signal that in writing. And I think this resolution is the proposed amendment is kind of a skeptical, politically based or motivated change. And I want us to signal our values. That is why we're all here, because we care deeply about our community, not about gaming out the politics after this leaves our purview. So just also on the supply skepticism, there is academic research showing relationship between rents dropping and increasing housing supply. So it's not a theory, it's not trickle down economics, it's proven. I also just want to say, as a young renter, this crisis is deeply affecting me personally, and I can't wait and see if something better comes along. I need to see change now. It's really amazing for all you who own in this great neighborhood, because I would like to do that someday, but I'm feeling the crunch in this moment, so I feel some urgency. And I'll just reiterate, I think this proposal is creating opportunities to create affordable housing, right? UAP may not be perfect, but it creates a new opportunity to see affordable units be created in our neighborhood where we see so little. So us signaling no to that is very troubling to me. And I'd like us, we keep going back to consensus on affordable housing. Let's put it on paper.
I can't see everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm really not an expert on this topic. What everyone said really is swinging both ways, but looking for a solution, it seems like overwhelmingly we agree that we should somehow say yes to this with a little caveat. So my recommendation is we propose a resolution saying we overwhelmingly yes, but we would like DCP to take a look at the recommendations made by our House and Land Use Committee. That doesn't have to be included in the resolution itself. And separately, that Land and Housing and Land Use Committee could forward all their comments made in this document separately, as I'm sure DCP would still love to see and take into account those comments. How we can have accessible growth. I think.
Well, we got Igor and Ira. Stand up.
Hi, I'm Igor. I'm pretty new to this topic and I haven't had much of a chance to kind of delve into the details. But I think what stuck with me is when I attended, I think it was the May 15th housing and land use meeting. There was overall kind of a lot of community support, a lot of positivity that I felt. And I'm a little surprised to come to this meeting and find that there are always problems. And I love the words sort of feel like we're losing the forest for the trees a little bit. Like the forest is, we have this big issue. There's this housing affordability crisis. We have this big proposal to try to fix it. It's not perfect. Well, in 1,200 pages, there are going to be issues, and I'm all for kind of adding the minute or specific comments in the various proposals. But I sort of agree with the previous speaker that I fear that if we sort of check the box and say we disapprove, even if it's conditional, that's going to be a disapproval. I would like to approve it, and then if we want to go into the details, add it into the comments. I'm all for sort of helping ECB, and I think they're wonderful people. I've worked at some state agencies, they're all wonderful people. They will read the comments, but let's send them the feedback, but then as the message that we're sending out to the community, out to the public, I hope it should support it.
What we got here? Stand up, Aaron.
Okay, I'm standing up. I think that a lot of the message is already within the text that we've got here. And there's more flexibility in the text we have here. I've spoken at these meetings before, that the sites that are being chosen right now, if you walk around the neighborhood, are the 5 and 6 story walk-ups with the 2 and 3 bedroom apartments in them. You can see that on Amsterdam, you can see that at 96th, and Broadway, you can see that in a couple other places. So I really, really think that if you do this kind of thing that's talked about in the second paragraph, you may end up with a net gain of 0 units, because you've got to figure out how to save the affordable units you already have in place that people are living in now as affordable units, and as people putting the market rate units in those buildings come out, you can make them affordable. I think you're going to get more family type units than you're going to get in a building full of small 1 bedrooms and studios, which this proposal encourages, because all those density factors are gone. So that's my comment. I like it the way it is.
I've already spoken. I just want to say that we have a charter mandate, community boards have a charter mandate, and our charter mandate is that we represent the stakeholders in our district, not in any other district, but in our district, and that's part of our charter mandate. That's all, that just as an explanation.
Louisa, you have somebody else?
Thank you.
Somebody back here. Okay, first time, yeah. Yeah, stand up.
Don't be shy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick. I'm a resident and a renter here in the West Side. And, as a renter, I've seen Manhattan rents are the highest in the country. New York City is the greatest city, but so are the rents. Homelessness has been rising, and that's very concerning, I think, for everyone. And vacancy rates have fallen to very record lows. I think there's a lot of opportunities in this proposal, City of Yes, for affordable housing, ADUs, SROs, and even just getting more supply on the market. I think if you look at something like Section 8, which is a program for low-income people who use market rent housing, they opened up applications for Section 8 recently, and that list became massive, and they're just not going to get through that wait list probably forever. And I think that's very concerning if you want to care about making sure people have stable roofs, stable homes. Section 8 is definitely something to consider as well. I think it was Jane Jacob. She said that a good shelter was a good unto itself. I think it's difficult for us to keep doing all these piecemeal rezonings little by little over several years. That system has not been working. So I encourage board to support the City of Yes and to do something bold for affordable housing across the entire city. Thank you.
Louisa, and if nobody objects, we speak somewhat around midnight to a vote.
It's good.
Okay, I just want to say, Saralee, that city planning, this is the biggest rezoning of the city since 1961. However, city planning is constantly changing. And there was quality housing, there was mandatory inclusionary housing, there were all kinds of all the special districts, whenever there's a need, and whenever there is a push from the community, city planning responds to it. So it isn't that this is the only thing that we're going to be dealing with for a long time. The next thing is that there is a lot of construction that's going on in Community Board 7 right now. We can see it just walking down Broadway and off Broadway. However, somebody tell me if any of that is affordable to people even making 100% of AMI. Most of the people in the city actually make 60% of AMI, which is one of the good things about this, which is about $40,000 to $60,000 a year. They could not afford to live in Community Board 7 now. And this proposal in no way will provide the units that they could afford. And so my thing is, it's not strong enough. You have to say what you really need. And expecting, first of all, there's been a trickle down. You can get, opinions from economists on both sides. But the thing about it is, you're gonna have to wait 40 more years for it to trickle down. We don't have that kind of time. We have a lot of people in this neighborhood, in Community Board 9, in Community Board 8, who need places to live.
In Community Board 5 too.
Excuse me?
In Community Board 5 and 4 too. Community Board 2 now.
All community boards.
Finish up and.
Let's,
And can you clarify what people are voting on? I think it's, yeah, I'd like to.
We started on the amendment.
We're voting on the.
And I'd like to address the amendment, which
On Mark's
I
amendment, or
endorse.
the full thing? No, the amendment.
Just the first, the.
In the mic, in the mic.
The thrust of the committee view and the thrust that's capturing this amendment is that we are desperately in need of affordable housing. But that the UAP plan, in our view, will not produce the affordable housing. And we have to, and there are reasons for it, but the main reason is that it is more restrictive of landlords than the existing voluntary inclusionary housing, which has not been an overwhelming success. And in our view, landlords will have no incentive to use UAP. And we just point that out. We also think that there should be exploration of mandatory affordable housing, which is not at all in the city of Yes. And we also think that restricting affordable housing to the building that's being built as opposed to off-site is a mistake. That you can get a lot more bang for your buck by preserving housing units off-site and then giving affordable housing units in a building where units go for $5 million. So I support Mark's amendment. I'm grateful to Mark as well as he consulted with language. And if nobody has any, you say we're voting on Mark's amendment. So that, and a vote for the amendment doesn't mean that you have to vote for the resolution. And a vote against the amendment doesn't mean that you have to vote against the resolution of all. So we're going in favor of Mark's amendment to the resolution.
It's
Electronic. Yeah.
Voting for Mark's amendment.
Mark's amendment, either yes, no. Yes, abstain. Yes is for Mark's amendment. Yeah. No is against Mark's amendment. Abstain, no, abstain.
Yeah.
I haven't.
All right, let's chit chat. We're voting. So voting for the amendment. Anyone have any issues?
Yes.
Oh, I have one. That's why I named it.
What do you want to say?
Welcome, guys.
Not one.
I'm not getting it. You have Louisa. Louisa, you have CB7 on your phone?
I have it on the CB7 vote, but it's not coming up.
And maybe I can help.
Good thing we're streamlining.
I checked. Most of us have seen it.
Anyone else have an issue?
Yeah.
Okay, that email, you wanna go to the, catch that.
CB7.
No, that's right now. Go to your.
So far, 25 yes, 14 no, 1 abstention.
Everybody voted.
Yes, no, okay, last hearing, so it's somewhere 25, 14, 1, so that's 30, 14. So she probably has.
Yeah.
Okay, you have Louisa show up?
Yeah. And I get that. I didn't realize. Are you the abstain?
You got it. 80 blood right there. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's down here. 27, 14, 1.
Okay.
27, 14, 1.
The only other potential amendment.
Wait, microphone.
Yeah, the only other potential amendment that I'm aware of is Ken. Yes. Ken, you want to make your amendment?
Richard.
Yeah.
Want me to just amend the minutes to add those two paragraphs that are.
Ken's waiting out. Come up here.
This matter has to do with parking mandates. That means that building new housing is required to have a certain amount of minimum parking. It doesn't apply to our neighborhood, but it does apply in most of the city. And it's part of the city of yes to eliminate parking mandates. At the committee, I said that we should, the committee was going to just pass it by and say, well, it doesn't apply to us, but it actually does apply to us because it's going to reduce traffic. If it's eliminated throughout the city, it will affect us. This is something we probably were in our interest now, but pricing is on pause. Parking mandates increase the cost of housing, something like $100,000 for open space. It's much harder to have affordable housing if you have parking mandates. So this is, and that's good for all of us, both in terms of housing and in terms of air quality and traffic.
What are we ordering for?
Include approval of the elimination of parking mandates in the city of Greenville.
Yeah, okay. Just so everyone understands, the city of Yes recommends the elimination of parking mandates.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to Community Board 7 because they already don't exist here. But throughout the city. And Ken's amendment would point out that we approve that particular aspect of the city, yes.
Clarification. Would that totally negate the possibility of resident parking?
No, it eliminates the mandate.
For
developers. So there used to be a rule in our district, but you had to have a certain number of parking spaces.
All right.
Right.
And is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, right. So we're, city eliminates the mandate.
Yes, and we're voting to approve that aspect. Right?
Why do we have to do this? It's already in the whole city. But the point is,
Why do we need an amendment?
it's not for the rest of the inside.
As I understand it, what in our resolution, we're saying that it doesn't apply to us, and Ken would like us to change that to say it does apply to us, and we support this removal of parking.
Not that it does apply to us, but that we support it.
Okay, fine, we just.
Yeah, just on any further discussion, if not, all those in favor. All right, all those in favor. Okay, wait, number.
Yeah, we're voting electronically, and this is, is ready, and this is yes, if you agree with Ken. Yes, or no. Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything, I'm telling. This is the first.
Yes.
Okay, we're voting now. Okay. Okay, 28 votes, we got a lot of people are missing. 30 votes. And do your vote now. 37. 37. 37.
Yeah.
Okay, we're stopping. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Ken's resolution passes 31-6-1. Okay. Thank you. Okay, back to you, Richard.
So now, Adam.
I have the resolution. An amendment.
Okay.
I think I sent them to the.
Oh, yeah.
Here. I have it. Talking about the errors, it's not on. Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
They're just following it up. Bear with us. Adam, which one of these first? Let's go. We're number 3. Yeah. So these are all amendments to the full text, just like we just amended with the other two. And when we have a poll, them up, I'll read them. Okay, so the first one is to the third element of the our resolution, which is about obstacle to quality housing development in non-compactable districts. And the change would be to remove some of the text in the middle, and instead focus on including votes from tenants at the affected campuses. So the new reading would be, as a general principle, MCB7 favors easing restrictions, preventing infill on campuses, and it is critical to have buy-in from impacted communities. No individual infill project should proceed without significant and adequate opportunity for input from the affected community, including votes from tenants at the affected campuses. So essentially what this is saying is that we think that there are possibilities for infill construction at NYCHA campuses, but that we don't want that to happen unless there's a vote from tenants at the affected NYCHA campus on what should happen.
Are you against specific plans though? I mean, you took it, I think it's an excellent addition, but why did you take out that each campus should be addressed individually?
As a number of people have outlined, this is a zoning resolution, so this is just giving the capability to make these changes. I don't think it's necessary to have a specific plan that we vote on at the time. So if something happens, it'll come back to CB7. But at this time, I think it's important for us as a community to indicate that we think these things are important and that we would like these plans to come forward.
May I say that when you are talking to a city agency and say that you were requesting A, B, C, and D, it's very helpful because it tells them what you need.
Yes,
There's no reason to take out.
All right, any further?
Okay, we
So I just wanted to say, I appreciate your changes. I think it would be helpful if we get this in advance so that we can sit down and think about it and compare the things. And that's just very hard to do with this meeting.
That's true, but that's the same as the last two we already voted on.
I think Adam's intention is terrific. I think the most important thing is the input of the people there. We want to make sure that, that they have to come back, the city has to come back to Community Board 7. So either by leaving what was there or just having one line in there to guarantee that, because part of what's wrong with the whole thing is our role is being diminished. And we don't want to, don't want to diminish our role in supporting the community.
You want to keep discussing, Richard? You want to call the question?
Any further discussion? Let's call the question on the proposed amendment.
Yes. Adam, would you object to adding one line saying that you would want the, any, infill project to be reviewed by the community board?
I think that'd be great. So if we add a sentence at the end that says like also the project must be reviewed by CB7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Must be reviewed.
Just to be clear as to what we're voting on. The resolution has written disapprove of the change. This is an amendment which approves the change.
Subject to.
Yeah. So all those, let's go, all those in favor, vote.
Max, can you stop sharing here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, voting is open. It's called City of Yes, vote 3.
Yeah.
So yes, if you want this change.
We want to.
Okay.
Point of information, so voting for this would change our view from against the infill to being in favor of the infill.
Yes.
These qualifications.
Yes.
21-6-0-0. Get your votes in, everyone.
Uh,
37-2. Okay, get your votes in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, this proof passes 32-7. I forgot the other number there. Two. Okay, next one, Max. Throw it up.
Yeah, sorry guys, but I think these are already
37-7.
What?
Maybe it's a microphone. Or I can-
37.
Thank you all, and I apologize again for having 3, but hopefully they all go as quick as the last one. This is a very close vote in the housing committee, so I think it's important that the full board get an opportunity. And again, similar to the last thing, what I'm suggesting is that we approve something requiring that it go through all of the normal Diller things. So the text would change to, and I'll explain what each of these things mean since I know it's a lot of acronyms. CB7 approves the creation of R11 and R12 districts for use outside of CB7 with the conditions that such mappings go through Euler, require mandatory inclusionary housing, and are not used in historic districts. So Euler is the process that everything has to go through, and mandatory inclusionary housing says that when there is a rezoning, which there would have to be for R11 or R12 to apply, a certain percentage of the units included in that new development have to be affordable. So this would say that these new districts, they exist. Maybe DCP uses them somewhere, but if they do use them, it has to be, go through Euler, have to require affordable housing, and they cannot be used in historic districts.
Okay, question, point of order. I just, the way this is worded, we approve the creation of the districts outside of CB7, but we don't say what we do with respect to those districts within CB7.
Right.
So, why did you exclude CP7 from this if you're putting in place the caveats concerning approval, coming back to this board?
That's a great point. I think it would probably be stronger if we said that it applied citywide, but I thought maybe people felt that other neighborhoods perhaps were more fitting for R11 than R12 and CB7. But if the feeling is that this could apply anywhere in the city, then I would be happy to remove that clause.
Yeah, I think it's open.
So you're gonna remove the words for use outside CB7.
Yeah. I do have a point of order.
Okay, point of order.
So,
It's that loud,
right, so, and this is it's very nuanced, that we all know, and so, and actually I'm gonna refer to the co-chair of the committee who also happens to be our parliamentarian. My understanding is that in this particular paragraph, the committee disapproved this. This amendment, the proposed amendment, is overturning something that the committee had approved. My understanding is with Robert's Rules of Order that you cannot amend something substantively to change the spirit of the committee vote. You can modify it. And again, I'm not arguing with the merits of your change, but my understanding is that this may not be kosher.
I think we're way beyond that. Okay. The official ruling, we're way beyond this.
I'm not sure what is being aimed at here. I think there are a number of misstatements. Already R11 and R12 are being proposed within our district and will have other kinds of implications if you read it, and you may be getting details on that. And I don't understand why you would say not to be used in the historic district. Why single that out? Historic districts have their own particular regulations and protections. I actually don't see the need for this particular amendment, and I would have trouble voting for it. I would vote against it.
Are you going, Richard, to different people or?
Just quickly, I think, like, I agree with Uncle Stephen that this might actually be proposed to us soon, and I believe it was First Jane who is the one who brought it up to us, so I think it would be a little bit wacky to say we don't think this should exist, and then potentially approve a project where this exists in our community. This is creating a new category for zoning. It's not saying we want it, it's just creating an option that might actually be a good option for us in the future, so let's not preclude that.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you. I'm reading the amendment as it's there, and I think the magic words are Euler. That one of my big concerns about the city of Yes overall is that it is intended to be an as of right zoning solution, so that we, the community board, never have to see an application and evaluate it on its merits. Euler makes projects better. And so I think that as long as the Euler word is in that, I can support it. Thanks.
I think when the committee voted disapproval, it was because we don't know the implications of this R11 or R12. And to make a comment about it and to approve it, or to approve it, may have a deleterious effect upon things we'll be considering in the near future. So I think we should keep it as a disapproval.
Michael, Clary.
It just seems like this is two amendments in a row. Sorry, it just seems like this is two amendments in a row that's stating the recommendation of the committee and then going the complete opposite direction, which to me undermines the whole essence of what they wanted to do. I think if you're going to like bring last minute amendments on these like very serious and critical issues, that this is not the way to do it. And like the committee, that's the background. like that's where that should be happening. And I think like that's the complete inversion of what we're trying to do here. This isn't even like the amount of time that we need for like the forum. Thank you. Larry, Larry.
I believe that I'm gonna vote against this. amendment. I believe I'm gonna vote against this amendment for a couple reasons that people have stated, but, what these extra large districts, if we get any of them, that basically they allow yet bigger buildings. And when we get bigger buildings, what that means is more luxury condominiums that are taller with all of these voids. So it's not what our community wants in any way that is consistent with more affordable housing, which is what we started out talking about. So I'm gonna vote against, but when we had the committee vote, again, I was at all the meetings, Richard then, and it's quite by the nanosecond, he may not even remember, but Richard, explained why, he, was proposing a no, and Richard, if you're able to reproduce that, I'd love to hear it again.
Not a chance.
I would say, I am in favor of bigger buildings. I actually live probably in one of the biggest buildings in the Upper West Side. I live, 93 in Columbus. It's not a beautiful building by any means. It's actually quite ugly. It's tall, it's 30 floors high, but the reason I live there, it's a condo building also. I do not own the condo. My husband and I rent in that building. And the reason we rent there is it was the most affordable place in 2020 for us to buy an apartment. We rent from the condo owners. I don't love that. It's not great. They're not always great landlords. They're now. You know, sometimes they're not good landlords. It's not a great thing. But what I'll say is in 2020, when we were looking for housing, renting from these condo owners was the most affordable option for us to find good quality housing on the Upper West Side. It's, again, I don't think it's a beautiful building. It's not historic. It's not everything I want in housing. But having the option for a larger building, which is 30 floors high and has, I believe there's up to an H unit, so think about how many affordable housing, units there are in that building. It really is significant to me living in one of these bigger buildings. And I'm not saying that every place in the Upper West Side is appropriate for R11 or so. I don't think that's to be true. But I think having opportunities where we can build buildings that I know aren't always aesthetic and they're not always exactly what we want, but are tall and have a lot of units has really been very impactful in my life. And the reason that we were able to afford to live in the Upper West Side in 2020. So I am in favor of R11 or 12. It means we can have more opportunities for housing.
Yeah, I was gonna go, so I think Michael's point is valid, but I think this unfortunately is very common for how we do business. And it's something this substantial couldn't have been fleshed out all in committee. So I don't think you should vote for it against for that reason. Again, to Shelley's point, this is just the creation, not its usage. We will be voting and talking about the specifics when and if and when it ever gets used in CB7. So I will be voting for this amendment.
I just wanted to clarify for folks who may not be deep into the weeds on these things, that these two zoning structures require 30% affordability. Okay, so these are not just big, they are definitely a way of producing additional affordability. So.
Okay. And Beverly's right, so you don't have to say MIH because that is just a specific program. The actual definition that is in the amendments refer to 30%. Also, all mappings are ULIP. So those two are not necessarily put in there because they already exist in the definition and in the fact that they're ULIP. And I think that R11 and R12 would not be allowed in historic districts just because of the height issue. So.
Okay, we're talking grammar now. What do you want to do?
That's not grammar, that's
good taste.
So I've spoken to a lot of people on both sides of KGOVS, developers, preservationists, people in and outside of our district. What I've learned in my, at least in my long life, is that people really are passionate about education and public education until their kids are no longer in school, and then suddenly they're less passionate, they care less. It seems, and people really care deeply and passionately about housing until suddenly they're not renting. They don't need the house. Now suddenly they're alarmed about the buildings being too big and overshadowing their brownstones. I like cute little brownstones too. I love that. But I really think we have to think about our neighbors and our young people who are coming up, or maybe not so young people who cannot afford to buy a brownstone in our neighborhood and still want to live there and deserve to live there, and are great neighbors and community partners.
We wrap this up.
All right, let's just, anything, Adam, would you be amenable to change, in addition to taking out the use outside CB7, would you be amenable to changing it to say that, go through you, and with the understanding that there is a requirement for 30% affordable housing?
So it would read, CB7 approves the creation of R11 and R12 districts with the conditions that such mapping go through Bueller and require 30% affordable housing.
Yeah.
I would be comfortable.
Okay. Question's been called.
Okay. Voting is open. Get your votes in. This is city of yes, vote for.
You know what? The community board.
Okay.
That are wrong. They look stupid in that
Let's
section.
go.
Everything else
Vote
is
time.
said.
We got 16, 6, 1, 0.
And this is wrong.
27, 2. Okay. I can't do it. 35. Getting there. Two more. You got 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's in there already.
Okay, passes 26, 12, 2. Okay. Last one.
Promises. I think this last one is the easiest one.
All right.
Another?
In this one, I think it's.
You know, there needs to be something that you see this
Yeah,
beforehand, so it could be discussed.
You know what?
This is just to rephrase how we respond to, so the way that the housing committee looked at this is we said what impacts CB7 and what doesn't. And I think, and this, I just wanted to really emphasize what Community Board 7 is doing and how we feel about the other changes. So it would change the text for how we respond to the amendment to the resolution that doesn't impact CB7 to say Manhattan Community Board 7 is taking steps in this resolution to add housing to our neighborhood. And in order to make this equitable, every district must do its part. As such, Manhattan Community Board 7 supports DCP's changes in low density districts as long as they consider the opinions of the respective low density community district community boards when moving forward. So it puts forward this idea that we're making changes in our neighborhood and that we think that other community boards should also make those changes.
Okay, we want to cut you off. Alberta.
We have a charter mandate as members of the community board to look at what is important to our community, our stakeholders.
Okay, unless somebody has something.
You might want to change it so it says do its part as opposed to its part.
Okay. Any other comments that anyone would like to make on this?
No.
Other respect for our community board, period. It's only you.
William Ortiz, everyone.
Thank you. I may just be tired. But this reads more like a mission statement than just a. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just, my 2 cents, I think it's inappropriate for us to lecture other community.
Yes.
And so I would vote against this.
All the questions.
All right, question that call.
Okay. What was it?
It'll go up anyway.
Okay, we got a vote. Currently, it's 5:27:3. So looking for 5 more votes. Almost there, I think that's close. 5,
You got it.
4, 3, 2, 1.
We actually have 14.
7:31:40.
So the population's increased.
Okay, now, the moment that Beverly's been waiting for. There's a vote on the whole resolution, most of the comments that received this, were addressed really to the whole resolution. So unless anyone has anything.
I just have a question.
Sure.
So we are voting on the resolution, and the resolution right now says that we conditions unfavorable to City of Yale. Is that correct?
Resolution is as written. We haven't resolved the issue of what we're gonna put on the board.
It says that text in here.
That what?
It says.
That was on the amendment.
That was the amendment. The proposal.
Yes. That as to that one, yes.
Just that. To the whole thing.
No, we just.
No, it's only to that department.
Yeah.
Richard? Richard, this is Alex. I just wanted to let you know that
Part 1, which relates to UAP.
Correct.
Richard. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that Kristen Berger has her hand raised.
Hey, I just wanted to clarify because we've been down the road a little. Can you just share the language of what we are voting on? If we share a screen, everyone will know what we're actually voting on now, and that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so to clarify that, we're voting on the current 8 pages.
Right.
Which you believe do not specify whether as a total we agree or approve or disapprove of City of Yes.
Nor do they, much less do they answer the question as to what we say about the portal.
Right.
I don't,
So basically, we're voting on the text.
Right.
Of that. That we do.
I don't know that Mark agrees. Mark, you want?
Wait, Mark, can Mark clarify?
Well,
Because this is very important.
My intention in drafting what I drafted and proposing what I proposed
Yeah.
was that it addressed the issue of the portal, and the portal doesn't go issue by issue or checklist item by checklist item. It asks for one overall vote, and then it allows you to upload documents. And based on what you do that checklist, that portal checklist, when you go to the portal, it has every community board that's voted, and it actually has a little green up for thumbs up if you voted yes, and has a little black thumbs down if you voted no. That's what I was trying to influence in the amendment that I offered. I don't know, if I put it in the wrong place, then I apologize, but that was the thrust of what I was trying to get at. Thank you for listening.
And what was the result of that? We vote?
Okay, my belief is that what we're voting on is what the committee began to vote on, which was each item. And now with additional items, do we agree with the document that represents this board? That's separate from what our opinion of the City of Yes is, okay, it's the housing opportunities. So I think we should have 2 votes. One on the document that we are going to input with our opinions, and then our overall feeling about the program.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Unfortunately, Shelley, I think the challenge there is that we just amended the resolution to say Manhattan Community Board 7's overall recommendation to the proposal is conditional unfavorable. So in the resolution, we have said now, in the resolution that we're about to vote on, that we're conditional unfavorable. So there's not an ability to then say, okay, well, we're conditional, unfavorable in the text of the resolution, and then somewhere else we're gonna vote on it again. So I don't think that works.
Well, I think the way I read this amendment, it relates only to the first of this proposal. And if that was not the intent. Someone who voted for the amendment has the right to have a revote.
Richard, also, Laura from DCP would like to speak.
Hi, everyone. You know, I'm here to answer any questions related to the proposal or to the process. For the process.
And you just got muted. Larry, just muted yourself.
There you go.
They do that. I didn't even touch anything. So I just wanted to let you know, I'm the one who's actually looking at the votes. And so the up, if it's a green or a red is sure one signal, but I'm actually looking at your resolutions. I'm looking at to see what are you saying about UAP? What are you saying about ADUs? And that's what I'm more focused on. So, you know, I really would recommend that the conditions is what you're really thinking about in this process, and making sure that, you know, you have that clarification and you can upload that. Of course, you can forward it to me, you can forward it to Dan Garodnick. We're all here to look at it in that form as well. But just want you to know that the green and the red sure indicate something within land use portal, but what we're looking at is actually how you're voting on each one. That gives us all the details.
Thank you. I think the problem is that many people, including myself, felt that the first vote was about UAP and the conditional disapproval was about UAP. I think that's a Richard thing also.
Yeah, look, man, there's no reading. The sentence that includes this conditional unfavorable reads as follows. Since the proposal does not condition these benefits, and since the proposal does not condition these benefits on a portion of such units being affordable, MCB7's overall recommendation to the proposal is conditional unfavorable. And then with the condition that the proposal be modified to require appropriate levels of affordability, et cetera. It is crystal clear to me that when you read this, it applies only to the first item of the proposal.
Right. So can I make a proposal that with Mark's blessing, that Mark agrees that conditional disapproval that we all voted for was on UAP number 1.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then we take a substantive vote, which is on the text of the entire 8 pages. And then we take a third vote, on whether or not for the city of yes, we are yes, with amendments, no, assuming yes.
So if I may.
Yeah.
I think you should just, if there was ambiguity about what that passage was meant to be, we should re-vote on that.
Mark, there was no ambiguity.
Okay, but I was using the language of the resolution, would use the word proposal to refer to city of yes. So I was trying to follow along the logic of your document. Obviously, there is confusion in the rest. So the best way to resolve the confusion is to re-vote on that, but now let's be clear.
Yeah.
That the suggestion is that the overall recommendation should be a conditional unfavorable, and if that is not acceptable to the votes, then that's how the vote comes out. There is no box to check for just number 1. There's a box to check for the whole thing. So if there's confusion, let's revote.
So Mark, just to clarify, you're saying you were not, your portal checkbox is not just for item 1, it is for the entire city of yes, so to be absolutely.
So first of all, it's not my box. So my amendment is meant to address the one and only checkbox that's in the portal. And that's for the overall.
The problem with what you're proposing is that there's a great deal in your amendment that I heartily endorse. And I don't endorse what your intent was with respect to the proposal as a whole. My suggestion is that we eliminate that sentence from your resolution and have a separate vote on it after we vote on the full resolution.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the same thing, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So we are, just so that we're clear. The,
As amended.
everyone's very important. The March resolution, which we, amendment which we have passed, is further amended to eliminate the, everything starting with since the proposal. And then we're gonna have a separate vote on that issue.
So we're not voting on that, you just amended the first. Mark said yes. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay,
That's fine.
okay, so that line is removed. So now, what are we voting on now, Richard?
We're voting on the resolution.
The language of the resolution.
As amended.
But that does not say anything about whether or not we
And not the evaluation.
approve or not of city limits.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, we're voting on the 8 pages.
Pages.
We're voting on the 8 pages.
Correct. Please call the question.
All questions.
So this is the 8-page resolution.
Yeah, we're voting on the 8-page resolution.
I'm gonna go, yeah, because most of the stuff is what I want. And they have to pick and choose the way they put to choose. So.
Okay. 28 to 30, okay, there we go, 35. Excuse me, 35-10, any other votes coming in? Yep. Okay, 5, 4, okay, we got them in, 3, 2, 34, 3, 2, 0. Okay, so we passed 8 pages. All right, now. Is there now a subsequent vote?
Yeah.
There will now be a vote.
Okay, please describe what the vote is.
I actually would like Beverly and Mark each to address this and describe what we're about to vote on, because I think you have opposite perspective. And I have no opinion on it. So, Mark, would you explain why you want a conditional no, and Beverly, would you explain why you don't?
Why I want a conditional yes.
Exactly.
And the chair should get the last word, so.
There's a third alternative, of course, which is that we don't
fill it in at all.
fill in at all.
Well, that's gonna be a problem for voting, but that's exciting, let's continue.
Okay.
Yes, no, and maybe.
So thank you for the opportunity to go back over this, and if there was confusion, I'm glad that we have an opportunity to clarify. I recommend that we vote a conditional no, because first of all, if you take a look at the 8 pages, there is a significant issue with almost every individual line item that we have called out. There were some that we chose not to call out, but there were significant issues in there. Secondly, trying to be succinct, so of course I'm taking more time.
If it helps you, you can vote.
Thank you. It's a more of a natural condition for me. So secondly, the notion that there are reservations about some of these things. And let's go straight to the heart of it. Our board has a long history of advocating for affordable housing. Our neighborhoods have not had a great deal of trouble building unaffordable housing. And if you walk down Broadway from here, that is self-evident. So you get affordable housing when you require it. You don't get affordable housing in general if you don't require it. So every single one of the things that we call out are concessions to developers. I have no problem with developers. Some people have a knee-jerk reaction against them. I'm not one of them. But I do believe that the power to say no is the power to negotiate. And I do believe that they, city planning, are smart people who put these concessions into their proposal because they have value. They have value, developers want them. I have every confidence they talked to developers and came up with a list of things that developers would like to see. if they have value, I think we shouldn't give that away. Our core value as Community Board 7 is to prepare and take care of the people who are more vulnerable than us. And to do that, we need to champion affordable housing, not just supply side housing. I have nothing wrong with building more supply side. I am very dubious about whether that will ever affect the price of the 1-bedroom apartment I just moved out of because I can't afford it. But I'm not the guy I should be taking care of in this resolution and in this citywide text amendment. Final point, this is a one-size-fits-all as of right development, as of right zoning amendment. From here, it will be the Department of City Planning and the developer in a room talking about whether they meet the criteria for whatever it is that comes out of this process. We won't be involved. It won't require a special permit. It won't require a ULURP. It won't require a rezoning. Well, a rezoning is ULURP, so I'm being redundant. But I give it permission. So those are the reasons why I think that to be true to our core values as a community board, we need to say some version of no. And I think that because this is a nuanced and complicated proposal of some 1,300 pages, I think it would be irresponsible to simply say no. So I think we say no with conditions. That's what I urge to you to vote on. Thank you for letting me speak.
I think, Melissa came closest to the point of view on this matter that I hold. I think that, if we do believe in housing, both because there's a shortage overall as well as affordable housing shortages, for us, that is our core value. And to say a negative rather than a qualified positive, I think is a problem for us and for the way in which we have valued housing over the course of certainly my tenure and much longer tenure of so many of you. I think that I do not want our thumb on this to be a downward thumb, because others will then say, okay, even the Upper West Side, home of, the liberal consensus around matters of this kind, the folks who vote yes to having homeless shelters in their district, those folks have voted no for this. I think that would be a very strange set of bedfellows to be in bed with. And I don't think that we should be part of that. I believe city planning will look at the depth of our analysis at the places where we say it won't work here, it won't work there. And they will take that very seriously into consideration. And frankly, I think our city council people who will weigh in on this at the bloody end of this process are smart people who will not view this as a gaming situation. They both are very experienced in matters of housing. And the best we can do is to inform them and to say, we want to see change, we want to see housing in the district. So for those reasons, personally, I would vote yes.
Shelley.
Sorry, I should vote no.
I will vote no in order to vote positive.
Even though there were a few things that we applauded in this, most of the 8 pages and all the hard work was analyzing things and finding things not good for our district, not good for the people in our district, not in line with our values. Okay, we see value in the overall program, but how it affects the future of the West Side and what the West Side has been, and talking about the liberal West Side. Liberal West Side is unhappy with what this is going to do in many ways to our district, or not do for our district. So I wouldn't say we should say unfavorable, but conditional unfavorable means that unfavorable, but because of these conditions, because of these things that we've outlined. Take a look at that, okay? It's not saying we're negative, it says we're thoughtful. And I think we need to use that selection of the four, which is conditional.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we just spent a lot of time belaboring and voting yes for lots of amendments which are supportive of city of yes. So I'll just repeat what I was saying there, which is like, final, for the last, decade, this idea of mandatory affordable housing has produced not enough affordable housing. Finally, the city has come back with some actual concrete changes that will increase the housing supply and give us lowercase a affordable housing. To say no, conditional no, is basically telling them, oh, all of this, no. Look at our amendments. It's it goes against what we've said all these years. This is like our number one issue is give us more affordable housing in our district. So you're saying no to their best effort to do that. So
it's not a good effort.
So to me, it's very clear. To me, it's very clear. We should be going yes, conditional yes on this one.
Yeah, I can't replace. Because I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lara. If we left the response blank, simply submitted our resolution, it would be considered by city planning. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. We're not necessarily, it's up to you as a board to decide how you want to move forward, of course. But anything that is submitted will be sent to the planning commissioners, will be sent to our chair, Dan Garodnick, and everyone will be reviewing it, and we will be reviewing it as we make, as we're required to do modifications.
Thank you. For that reason, I mean, I really resent being put in a box and being told you have to do A, B, or C, when our response after several meetings and hours of deliberation has been much more nuanced than that. And if we are permitted to do so, I would recommend that we not fill out either conditional approval or conditional disapproval, leave it blank and submit our resolution. Well, what I would suggest, I know that there's I don't know if there's a resolution on the floor, but my suggestion is that I will move that we leave. We'll have a discussion about that. I'm going to move that we leave the space on the portal blank. If that resolution passes, that moves the other issue. If it doesn't pass, then we have to decide whether it's conditional yes or conditional no.
All right, so
Yeah.
so I have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
And you can't have two motions on the floor at the same time.
Right.
So with your permission and with the chair's permission, I will withdraw my motion in favor of yours. And if yours fails, then I would like the opportunity to reassert mine.
Exactly right.
Thank you, Mark.
Clary,
Question, call the question.
question's been called, but Clary had her hand up.
Come on, Claire.
Thank you, Richard. I think having heard all of this, we should vote in favor of Richard's current thing. But I think Mark and other proponents of the version of no didn't really discuss this. This is the third different part of the city of yes. There's a city of yes economic opportunity. Many community boards, including ours, piece by piece criticized pieces of that. And that was very important in giving ammunition to our various council members who then, as the council gets the final word on this, who were able to obtain in negotiation and council actions in various changes to City of Yes economic opportunity, many of which actually were consistent with our own position. So I think what Richard has now proposed, where both our council members, most importantly, and city planning commission commissioners, we'll see what we have to say point by point, and all of the criticisms that Shelley pointed out, which are probably more numerous than the that we have. That accomplishes what really is our goal here of getting city planning and our council to pay attention to our positions
and puts our council members in the strongest position to, negotiate what we hope will be, something towards what our positions are. So I don't think we need Mark's version, although I would vote for that if we have to, but I think Richard's got it. So let's call
All right,
it.
the resolution is to leave, the resolution is to leave the space on the portal, for an overall up, down, or sideways blank. And to explain that, our position is set forth in the resolution.
Just the 8 pages or just that condition?
Sorry?
Just
And
Yeah, that's the condition. We already voted on the 8 pages.
and if I could just say one thing, I withdrew the motion as a procedural matter. I still believe in my motion, so I don't want to confuse it.
Yeah, we're voting. We're voting on Richard's, amendment, whatever. Resolution. Okay, get your votes in. 19800.
Yes, it's leave blank.
Yes is a vote for Richard, leave blank. Upload PDF, 8 pages. A vote yes is to leave blank and upload the 8 pages of our detailed discussion, saying what we
We
believe.
don't do the second thing, we hope it.
Yeah.
It's not the resolution.
No, we already. Yeah, okay. So we're voting to, okay, so we're at 2514, which is 39. So 5, 4, 3, 1. Okay, 261500. Wow. We're done with it. Wow.
Point of order for the minute. What do I do with the other things that are like?
Mark, we will have to work out the resolution to include in the minutes with all of the appropriate amendments.
We just started.
No, we just started
Just deleted half.
after six.
Oh.
To the end.
Also, we're brought some brownies. Anyone eat like brownies? Yeah.
Just to be the committee, is there something in the brown?
We did not do roll call at the beginning. We normally do it partway into the meeting. I don't know. We've got so much work to do.
Move to waive.
Yeah, well, I think
Can we waive?
Let's waive.
Thank you.
Permanent.
Well, it does serve a purpose for attendance. You have 2 more resolutions, Richard.
What are we
doing? They're short.
Move to.
All right, resolution number 2. It basically to support allocating funds to, for worthwhile housing, projects. It really speaks for itself. If anyone has no questions, we can go.
Call the question.
Program.
And it's a great.
Supporting the council's initiative called Housing Now.
All of the community
Service side.
Yeah, they help develop it, yeah. There.
$1.5 billion over 5 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Voting yes?
Are we voting?
Yeah.
Yes, this one housing.
Which is for all affordable housing.
Says mother and apple pie.
At least.
Sometimes, you know, that's the kind of thing I'd like to do.
But it wasn't written yet.
Okay, 3700 54341.
Okay. The third resolution. Yeah. The third resolution of our committee has to do with an application by the owners of the Belnord to allow a bank to replace the vacancy that's on the corner of the northeast corner of 86th Street. Been vacant for about 12 years. The last tenant was Banana Republic.
It's a wonderful use.
And the reason it's come to us is that there is a requirement that there's a prohibition absent consent of a bank having more than 25 feet of frontage on Broadway. And the committee felt that in view of the fact that this place has been vacant for 12 years, any use is better than none. So if there are no questions or comments. No, northeast. It's a southwest corner building.
The building where he's breaking and taking now. And the new Starbucks.
The Belmont, yeah.
Yeah.
We're voting. That was so long ago. Oh, I know, that's when I could fit inside.
We're voting? Yeah, we're voting.
And when I could fit inside.
48,005. 33, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 37,000, 38,000.
Before I yield the mic, I really would like to compliment members of our committee who spent hours and hours on that first resolution, and also members of the board who have educated themselves on the run, and everybody spoke directly to the point. I think the resolution reflects that. So thank you all very much.
Hey, thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Next up is presentation with one, item, Ange, would you take the mic?
Thank you. This is for a 5-story. Can you hold it? I will put that. 5-story building on 167, 167, 172nd. Head of the LLC that now owns the building has been required to remediate the windows on the top 3 floors of the 5-story building. New windows were installed in 2017, and LPC issued the violation that was the open non-original windows are 9/1. They were replaced by 1/1 windows. The bottom 2 floors were occupied by a shop and offices. Their windows are completely different and not part of the violation. 72nd Street filled with stores, businesses, the styles of the building and the windows are very varied, have been changed over the years. There is no uniform content in these windows. To make the windows more compliant, the applicant proposed fake munchkins inserted on the outside and inside of the windows. Both architects on the committee said that the outside munchkins are very problematic, hard to clean, and fall out with adhesive is compromised. Neither knew of their use anywhere. He suggested that only the interior munchkins be used to create the appearance of divided light, which presented very amenable to the idea. So the preservation committee recommends approval of interior munchkins on the top 3 floors at 167, 177. I want to know what the agent is on it. All the questions. Sorry, I want to know what the report is. We debated, trying to.
Get on the mic.
Oh. We debated how we should, put the synthetic, mud in. And the concern was because of the height of the building and the fact that they could never get clean. We wanted to keep the outside glass pristine and give the occupant the opportunity to keep their interior windows equally. So that was, I think, pretty much unanimous, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so it's pretty like a slam dunk. Easy. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, BPI.
aye.
All right, okay, let's finish voting on all reservation 30-0-0. So you got a few more votes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.5.
There you go.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. 1. So 37, 0, 38, 0, 0.
BPI, we've got 2 items, that were unanimously approved, except for one ineligible. I would vote to bundle them unless there's one.
Hey, yeah.
Tired now. Okay, so the first is for 61 West 2nd Street, Columbus Avenue. It's a temporary retail permit application for 2-year liquor license, for La Pecora Yonka. That was unanimously approved. And the second is for 706 Amsterdam Avenue on 94, between 94th and 95th. For also a 2-year liquor license by Sai Srishtti, EBA.
Hold question. We don't have any ineligible, I don't think. Either.
Well, that's what Josh said to me. Okay, so you know what? Provide that no ineligible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ben, you put, there's a restaurant, I think it's called Pecora, right? Bianca.
Yeah, there's one on
77.
Yes, same. Same.
39th Street too.
Okay. It's not a relocation, it's an additional unit.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah,
Let's see about where you.
Okay. Hey, Martin, 31, 0, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, 37, 0, 0, 0. Okay, what's next?
Transportation.
Right here, gesture. Mark's right here. He wrote.
So Andrew, what's new?
Thank you. We have a resolution, which is pretty obvious. It states that CB7 has supported congestion pricing. The governor has paused it. This puts much, if not most, of the NTA's capital program on hold. This includes new subway cars, new commuter rail cars, new electric buses, extension of the 2nd Avenue line to 125th Street, CBTC on the 6th Avenue, full street lines in Brooklyn, and possible electrification of the Port Jefferson branch of the Long Island Railroad. I mean, there's so many important projects, basic maintenance. So this resolution calls on the governor to change her pause and put it back into effect immediately. That's the basis of our resolution. I don't have the vote in front of me, but it was pretty unanimous. I had to vote ineligible because it's calling on the governor, but pretty much everybody else voted in favor of this.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Hey, let's vote.
We're voting.
We're voting.
We're voting.
How come I don't see it on the, I don't see it on the.
Okay, we got 34 votes in. Get your votes in. 34, 1, 1. 35, 1, 1, 0. 36, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2. 36, 2, 2, 0. Okay.
So, just for the record, I voted ineligible, but it did not take. This system doesn't take an ineligible. Okay.
It's a
Pause.
the operator manual.
I'll put it in.
Well, we already ended the voting.
Okay.
Pause.
Beverly, I think you might have a, sorry about that. I was doing something else.
On this item?
Can't tell, but I can find out.
Okay, can you,
It may be the next one or the day.
can we find out what the member of the public wishes to speak about?
Actually, they declined to be promoted, so. Yeah. How many years?
So that's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, now we have, we put through everything since the video yet. And we, have a number of items from parks that, were voted last night. So this is a very, immediate turnaround, and, congratulations to our parks co-chairs for getting all the resolutions in, overnight. With that, let me turn this over to you, Daria.
Thank you. First, thank you, Barbara. She helped us so much in writing 2 of the resolutions you have for us. Amazing resource. Thank you. So I'm going to go through the first 3 resolutions very quickly, because we're going to get to the fireworks at the very end with Natasha. The first one is the Soul Bloom playground renovation. This is funded by Gail Brewer's office. This playground's attached to PS 84, and really just updating it, upgrading it, you know, providing ADA accessibility, better drainage, improving the color scheme, upgrading the safety surfaces. So we thought that as a committee that the plan was very imaginative, it was inclusive, it added a lot of color, and we also appreciated the fact that the planners focused on sustainability. And this passed unanimously in committee. So, questions?
Call the question.
Okay.
So a vote yes is a vote for the children.
Sorry, just be on the record.
Actually, it's about for puppies.
Okay, 37-000-5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Passes 39-000.
So the next 2 resolutions were brought to us by Central Park Conservancy. The first one is work related to the Harlem Mere shoreline, basically restoring it, and then also creating and constructing boardwalks actually over the water itself, which is very exciting to see. And what they want to do is basically restore that shoreline to what it looked like historically, which was much more natural, didn't have those edges along there, and they're just kind of removing invasive species and just really trying to make it more accessible by restoring the past. They will also be constructing a boardwalk over the southern part of the Mere, of the Harlem Mere, and they showed us an example of what it looked like. It was, there's a boardwalk that's already partially constructed outside the Harlem Mere Center, and the committee was impressed with how it looked already. We know that it's going to become live January 2025, and overall, the committee thought that the restoration process was thoughtful and everything looked great. So passed again unanimously in the with a vote of 7-0-0-0 and 1-0-0-0 for non-members.
Okay, one question.
Open voting.
Alex, can you pull up the slide for me? Are we doing them separately?
Yeah, we're doing it separately.
Separately.
It's open. We won't be able to see it, but oh, there we go.
Oh, get the votes in first.
Okay, we're at 32, 35, 5, 4, 3, 2,
36.
37. Okay, 37, 0, 0, 0.
So that's why you're down to votes.
So, the second project brought to us was from the Central Park Conservancy is the Harlem Recirculation System project. If Alex can bring it up, that would be great. It's a really amazing project, and we were really excited to see it. Again, they said it's not as sexy as things that like art, you know, a lot of different things out there, but it has some, great, promise for this area and also the rest of the park. So on this slide up here on the left-hand side is what it currently looks like, and on the right-hand side is the proposal. There are 3 bodies of water. You can see this one is the Lock, the 100th Street Pool, and the Harlem Mere. And these bodies of water rely on the city's potable water as its source. So it flows in from the left-hand side, around 100th Street, and then also around the 97th Street Traverse. Potable water flows in, goes down through these bodies of water and comes out on 5th Avenue into New York's sewer system. And so the project aims to fix this. There's no retention of stormwater, there's no capacity, it's just lost. So the project aims to fix that by creating a recirculation system where the stormwater is actually captured and then recirculated, and that's on the right-hand side. They're going to turn off the potable water inflow on 100th Street and 97th Street, and then they're going to create this recirculation using pipes and filters and pumps. So it goes around, and it really has a bunch of different benefits to it. Alex, you can go to the next slide. So a lot of great benefits. You can see it's 175 million gallons of potable water savings per year. This is going to increase Central Park's sustainability, resiliency. It's going to really improve water quality. And so overall, we were very, very appreciative of this plan. We were happy to see it. And the one interesting thing is that this recirculation system was first envisioned in the 1800s by the planners of the park, like Vox and Olmsted. And they actually put some infrastructure already in place in anticipation of like a future recirculation system. So we were really impressed, the committee overall, with how Central Park Conservancy actually planned, basically persevered to bring this recirculation system into fruition. And so the resolution to support this passed again unanimously in committee and also with non-committee members.
Can I just ask, did they give you an estimated completion date for this?
They didn't. This is essentially the design phase. And one of the things that we've learned about in park is that it's always 6 to 9 months for design, 9 to 12 for procurement, and 12 to 18. And then so it's usually between 3.5 years. But that's again a rule of thumb. For this particular project, we don't know specific.
Thank you.
This project is in conjunction with DEP, by the way. And it has gone through many iterations, starting in about 1865 and then picking up again in 2000. And then there was no money for the project, and now they are moving forward with it. It's very exciting, you know.
And there's going to be construction, but it won't be obstructed.
Right. So the construction is, they're not going to disturb any trees, and it's really pipes laid underground, and so they don't project it to be really obstructed at all.
Almost 200 years to get this done.
200 years, they're kind of, it was envisioned by the planners. So
We get for 200 years. Hold on.
Yeah.
How many gallons wasted?
Keep voting?
Yes.
Okay. Can we give you yes, yes, yes? You would like to explanation?
49,035, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 7, 0, 0, 0. Okay, last one, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Alex, would you mind sharing this? Thank you. Slide number 1 of the marina. So while she's doing that, I'll make the introduction. Last night, DPR and EDC came to Community Board 7 for the
7th time since 2019 to present the latest plans for the renovation of the dock house and marina at West 79th Street, Port Basin. While the plans they showed last night are by no means final, given that these will be presented to PDC in August, we as co-chairs felt that it was necessary to pass some sort of resolution at this point, so that we as a board and by extension the community can have some sort of a voice in this matter. The committee understands very well that the community's response to this project and a lot of the early press coverage has been overwhelmingly negative. So if you could move on to the next slide, please, which is slide 16. Yeah, so here's the big reveal. This is the latest design of the dock house. Please, could you go on to 17? Here's another view, looking best. Yeah, and to number 20, please. Slide number 20, yeah. Okay, here's a view in very lighting conditions. The total area of the dock house will be 3,800 square feet. Over time, we've heard many different objections to this project, but I want to specifically address two specific lines of controversy. One of them is something that we've heard from the beginning, that the dock house is too large. But I want to show you the progression of the design that shows that the community's feedback and criticism has been heard. And the consensus is that the size of the structure has moved in the right direction, which is that it's been decreased. So, Alex, if you could move on to slide number 10, going back. Yeah, slide number 10. So what you see on the extreme left is what the existing boathouse is, 1,500 square feet. And then it went up to over 6,000, came down to 4,500, I think that is. And finally, what they presented last night is 3,800 square feet. So still more than double what it is originally, but definitely moved in the right direction. And while there are, of course, many people in the community who feel that 3,800 is still very large, we heard from Gail Brewer last night, who was speaking on behalf of many constituents. Oh, so she's on behalf of many constituents who clearly feel that it's still very large. We also heard from some actual users of the marina and dock house, like I think the owner of sailing boat, sailing school, who said that in fact, even in this iteration, you know, it would be inadequate for his school, but he'll take it. Because something is better than nothing, and we waited quite a long while for this to come around. And you will see later on that we have addressed the element of size in our eventual resolution. Another major line of community objection against this project is simply about the way that it looks. Many people have found all iterations of this design to be ugly, frankly. We heard from a community member last night who used the word hideous. But at the same time, there are other people in the community, including Linda here, who is a big fan of the project and of the design, the latest one. And others also in the community who also feel that the design is now 1,000 times better than it was when it first started. And Alex, if you could turn to slide 19. slide 19, yeah. So this shows you the progression of the different sizes and the different designs that the agencies came back to us with in 2021. Over 6,000 square feet in 2023, over 4,000, and the current one, which seems much smaller. It's when one person says hideous, somebody else says gorgeous, it's actually very difficult to distill that kind of emotion into a resolution that is credible. And so we decided to not make a comment on the design. We do note that the orientation of this final design, which is it's angled at 45 degrees to the promenade, makes it look a little less massive. Also, the pillars and the edges are chamfered, so it also makes that look, the building look a little less bulky. And finally, the current boathouse is smack at 79th Street on the river, which is right in front of the rotunda. The proposed structure will be 2 blocks south at 77th Street. So the rotunda happens to be a major viewing area for the public. So I feel that this movement of the structure is actually very positive. It won't be obstructed.
When they started, because I've been with this since they started, people at home can hear you. First location, almost smack on the rotunda.
We're talking about this iteration, not.
No, but historically it's moved. Yeah.
Okay. To a better place, yes.
Right.
So having said all that, I know that this is not perfect, but I personally believe that the design, the size, the look, everything has evolved in the right direction. And I would give credit to not just the community's engagement, but also the agency's willingness to listen to us and to come back to us no fewer than 7 times. Because every time they would come back, they would get really beaten down. And I feel that every time they would come back to us, they would have incorporated at least some of our comments and some of our feedback into their next stage of design. So regardless of how you feel about this project, whether you love it or you hate it, I would strongly encourage all of you to come to our meetings in the future and engage and make your voices heard, because it does make a difference. And even if we haven't addressed specific things in our resolution, which I'll put up in a minute, you will see that your voice makes a difference, because that is what has changed this design from what you see on the extreme left to what it is today. Maybe we can move on to slides 21, 22, and 35, just to show some views of the building, which was important to the community also.
Yeah.
22. And 35. Yeah. Now maybe, Alex, you can put up the actual resolution, or do we want to discuss, do we want to have a Q&A first?
Maybe put up the resolution.
Okay, maybe you could put up the resolution first, Alex.
Okay, give me one.
So the this is just the therefore clause, not the entire resolution. And as you will see, we've drafted it with the concept of what the community will get out of the project. And we've stayed away from specifics like technicalities, and code. The resolution reads, therefore be it resolved that Community Board 7 Manhattan supports the plan as presented with the following recommendations. The built-up area of the dock house may not be increased. Elements of nature should guide any design changes. Recreational vessels or cruises that contribute to excessive noise and pollution should not be allowed. Marine education programming should be expanded for all ages and abilities. Any members of the liveaboard community that existed at the marina prior to 2021 who want to return once the marina is renovated must receive priority in relocation back at the marina. While CB7 appreciates the agencies coming to port 7 times since 2019, we expect them to return as the design evolves and before it is finalized. I also, before I open it up to discussion, I also want to say that there were several actual users of the marina who came and who spoke, just asking for us to move on with this project, to have some action. The very first administrator of the park, he was there. The captain of Hudson River to Clearwater, which is one of the largest educational vessels that used to dock very regularly at the marina. He was there and he said that it was the most convenient and popular sites for them while the marina was open. And also Trisha Shimamura, who is the new Manhattan Borough Commissioner of the Parks Department. She was there and she also expressed support. So I just want to open it up to discussion and I don't know.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brewer.
No.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to add is that the size, it's larger, but it's commensurate with the fact that they've increased the size of the number of slips. We're going to have 191 slips now. And before, I think we had 54 or something like that.
We had
So 16. Now we're 191. So there are extra bathrooms. There's going to be washing machines, dryers, etc. Things that people need who will be living there or visiting, etc. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
This project is $80 million. $80 million. So when we discussed the fact that the library budget for all of New York City, we're losing access across the city at $50 million. So if you vote for this, it doesn't matter. It's all in taxes going to thing. If you're voting for this, you're saying that slips for 100-foot sailboats should be higher in the priority than fixing roofs for schools or having libraries or something like that. So, kind of the resolution.
It's FEMA money, Alex.
A lot of it is payment.
I would, I get co-chair, I think, not chair, maybe chair, the co-chair at least of this committee when this whole project came first for us. And I appreciate very much Natasha's summary of how at least the dock house design and bulk and location, all of that has gotten much better. I'm probably going to abstain, although I want to hear what people have to say. But in a way, both Linda and Alex kind of approached my concern and my point, which is you never want to hear the EDC's name in connection with a park. The EDC is an agency which seeks to raise money for the general fund of New York City in a way that often, and as in this case with 191 slips, brings revenue without a real value to our neighborhood. That's what I think the slips could do if they're built. They may not be built, all of them, because they may run out of money. You know, we have our historic relationship to from our whole neighborhood and visitors who come by and the people who bike by and all of that to the marina. The trend of renovation is getting towards completion, but in general, my view, having studied this for a long time, is that it doesn't do much for us, and one must be very skeptical about anything about the dock house, which is designed to serve things like, among other things. I mean, maintenance, yes, but tour boats, and if there are such that are permitted here, a lot of slips for people, as Alex said, to bring in 100-foot yachts, etc. So while I think everything Natasha said is correct, and it has moved in a good direction, the underlying rationale for this is making money for the city of New York, not necessarily in ways that benefit our community.
Natasha and Daria, I also just wanted to flag that Kristen Berger has her hand raised.
Hi, everyone. So two previous speakers stole what I wanted to say. I think $90 million is ridiculous. But the bigger problem, which again hasn't been looked at, is that the revenue structure for this marina is far below the revenue structure of other comparable marinas in Manhattan. So just to take an estimate, for a 40-foot dock for a month, for a 40-foot boat, excuse me, the dock for a month here is $800. It's around a little less than $10,000 a month, and $10,000 a year, right? At the Chelsea Pier, which is a comparable pier, we're talking about $84,000 a year, right? Why are we subsidizing boat docking? At the current rate, which is, it's a rough estimate because it's hard to estimate, it would take just 31 years just to pay back the amount of investment that we would put in with this $90 million. And that's a rough estimate. And that doesn't factor into account the additional money that would have to be spent on maintenance and workers for the marina, which is a 24/7 marina. Why we would spend $90 million to subsidize boat docking, I don't get it. Why we would spend $90 to provide secondary laundry facilities for people who are able to afford these 40-foot, 50, 100-foot boats is ridiculous to me. It's like Alex pointed out, we need just $50 million for the library to keep open, to stay open another day in all of New York City, right? And I know it doesn't work that way, that it's not a direct link, but I think to approve this would be a crazy precedent. If they want to do private funding, okay. If they want to restructure the prices so that the city actually makes revenue from something that could be a great revenue source for the city, great. How it is right now is unacceptable. Thank you.
Other people
Yeah,
speak.
they're not comparable.
Yeah.
Not comparable.
Oh, I just want to express my surprise. Usually new construction costs $2,000 square foot. Come on.
The whole project. It's not just the dock house.
It's not just the dock house.
It's the bridging and the.
Can I have the mic for a minute so that I can clarify a few things?
I think it's
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely, somebody knows.
So the cost is $89 million. This is the cost that they presented to us back in 2019. I have not seen a revised number. They did not give us a revised number. It was asked yesterday. By all accounts, I'm sure it's gone up. However, this is not $89 or $90 million for a house on a dock. This is actually, a lot of the money is actually going to go into dredging, which is underwater work. And it is necessary to have good navigation depth under the water. There will be a seawall that will be built as well. So there's a lot of infrastructure that will go in there that maybe you and I will not see, but I think anybody who uses the marina, which will not just be Jeff Bezos, you know, it will be others also. There was a lively population of liveaboards, people who permanently live there. And we've talked so much about affordable housing tonight. A lot of those people were able to live and work in New York City, raise their children, send their children to the local public schools only because they were able to live on their boats at the marina. So I don't know about the point that Avi just made. I can't answer those questions about the cost, the investment, the return. But I would say that this is a huge misconception to say, why is the EDC involved? And the EDC should not be involved in a public park. We just talked so much about our libraries not getting any funding. Frankly, I wish the EDC would get involved with our libraries if it would bring some revenue to them so that they could stay open 7 days a week. So, you know, it's very easy to like throw someone under the bus, like in a vacuum, but you have to look at the bigger picture. I'm not saying that the $89 million is peanuts. In fact, I'm admitting that it'll probably be more than that, given inflation.
And given the fact that most of the work will be under the water, it's not just about the dock house. So, Barbara. And the money is coming from FEMA and it is mostly capital. It's not stuff that, you know.
A good portion of the money is coming from people, not all, but a lot of it. You know, we raised the point last night that, this, dock house is now 3,800 square feet. And they explained why. First of all, they said, you know, this is a first-class major marina. It is one of the most popular marinas in the entire United States. And everybody wants to come. They will have already had not only the Clearwater, but they've had 3 other large vessels, educational vessels, request to be there. They are trying to be everything that they can be. Now, in the old days, they had the garage space and some of their storage and stuff underneath the rotunda. They no longer have that. So everything that goes on in this project takes place within the 3,800 square feet. The Coast Guard meets there. They have trainings there. They have educational programs there. They have a full staff there. All of their equipment, whatever they have, be it, well, whatever they have, I don't know what they have, but it is within this 3,800 square feet. They put in 2 bathrooms. They only had 1 before, plus washing machines and dryers and things. And I personally think, you know, I have some issues with this. I totally agree with Gail. This project is very large, but I think marinas are wonderful, and I think that boats are wonderful. So I voted in favor of it, and I think we all did actually. So, somebody have a question on this? Ken?
Yeah, but what, Elizabeth?
I think.
Yes. You can go first.
Basically, everything has been said by Barbara and the members of the committee who voted for this almost unanimously. The one thing, again, we talked about it with the city of that proposal, that the city, the things that we do on the committee board are not just for the people who live here. It's for everyone. And this marina is going to be something that's valuable for the city, and not just for us as residents, but for people who come and visit here. And I think that's an important consideration and another reason why we support it.
Yeah.
So to add without repeating, one thing is that the FEMA money, as I remember, I was at every meeting except last night, and I'm sorry to have missed last night. But my son called, and when your son calls, you go. As I recall, not only is a significant amount of money coming from FEMA, but there was something called a maintenance of effort requirement that we don't get FEMA money unless we have skin in the game too. So we have to invest, and the mayor came up with money because of that, as I recall. Second thing, with respect to the design, I respect that you're not going to go there, but 2 things I'll say about the design. When they first showed us the design, the first one, the box, it the public meeting is being recorded, so I'll just say that they had blank walls facing our community and beautiful glass facing New Jersey. The second one had a spinning top and I don't know what else, but it looked like a heliport. And it still turned its back on us. The third one looked, as I recall, like a concept hut from a Marine Corps. So what you've got now in your 7th iteration is something that actually has windows on all sides and does what it can to turn away. When the Eiffel Tower was built, there was an awful lot of people who said that it's a scar on the face of Paris that will never be erased. I don't think this is the Eiffel Tower, but we may come to appreciate it a little bit as we go along. I would love to see if this is their 7th iteration. I'd love to see what the 8th one is, but if they're going to PDC, I don't want to lose the chance that they do something worse. So I'm happy to take the committee's recommendation, and I really thank you for all the work that's gone into it.
The tower ended up in Eiffel. Over here. Just to the next part of the statement. The first iteration was designed by the marine structural engineer. Okay,
The second and third and fourth iteration were designed by architects who are no longer on the project or are in a solely production capacity. They brought in another architect who has actually done boathouses in other New York City parks. They've really changed their design team. It's not just the same people coming back because they don't know what they're doing. And they've got somebody now who knows what they're doing and what they're supposed to do. And it took a lot of effort to get there. And it took some flexibility on the part of the marine engineer to finally concede that he could find better people than himself to design this. And so that it not be a marine terminal for container boats.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Ken about Kristen.
Oh, yeah, let Kristen go. She's been waiting.
Thank you. I had different questions, but this conversation took a turn because I thought everyone would be really delighted by like the privilege of living next to a river and being able to utilize that river, access that river, have our children be a part of that. Like Clearwater is a great example. My daughter went to PS9, did Clearwater trips. I went to PS 166. I did Clearwater trips. My brothers all did Clearwater trips. And now my soon-to-be high school senior volunteers on the Clearwater over the summer. They've been like an amazing resource for marine knowledge, for using our waterways, and for protecting our environment. We live in like a big urban center. It's one of the ways we can connect to nature, we can connect to our waterways, and we can learn more about not just our city, but our entire region. So it's wild to me that we're thinking about not embracing the river. I think it is an important asset to have. And the way we design this marina does depend on what boats come. So Chelsea Piers, for example, is a very expensive marina. So if Bezos is coming in on a super yacht, frankly, it will not fit at the marina they're building on 79th Street. So that precludes it. Secondly, there are two very bougie marinas downtown that he'd probably rather be in. 79th Street Marina's strength was probably its rundownness. It is going to be a little more in demand now, but I do think we can keep it as an accessible marina. I saw in the thing, it said 1,000 boats waiting for the slips. So my question was actually about the transient moorings. I've stayed on those transient moorings quite a few times. They're pretty unpleasant. They're a lot of work, but there's still access to the water. So I kind of think having them there and not making it too easy is a nice way of being able to include people in the river and still having access without it being like, it's not all boats are super high end, not all uses of the river are super high end. So I think this would be an amazing thing for us to have and continue to have on the West Side. It's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Yeah.
Are the, I don't know both, so I don't know how like Nervitas work. Are the facilities accessible to the public, like the bathrooms?
Yes. They explained that. They explained that yesterday, that there is going to be a gate, but the gate has a bell. Anybody can go ring the bell. If you need a restroom to use, you can do that. I think even if you can somehow bring your laundry there, you can use the washroom.
Yeah, but I think I only made that comment, I said, yeah, like everybody's gonna schlep their apartment building to go down there and do their laundry.
You could.
And when you're in the day, you can't go walk out. Right?
You have to ring the bell. You have to do it.
I think the money's already earmarked, I think that should have failed.
Yeah.
And my concern is the political, there is a lovely, video, 15-minute film was made by somebody you can find on the website, Ray, that is just fantastic. And you get a real sense of that community. And I want to see that come back. And the only way it's going to come back is the kind of the Christian or update.
I think Doug wanted to speak. He's got his hand up.
And Doug and then Shelley.
Yeah.
And then
So-
we'll go around to everybody who's spoken, who hasn't spoken, and then we'll come back to people who.
So I'm excited to see something here again. I grew up here and when I was a kid, I was fascinated by it. I went to public school and some of my public school classmates were liveaboards. And that was incredible. And they lived there. They actually didn't live in very fancy boats. And I got to visit them on the boat sometimes, which is really exciting. I then, when I grew up, and went to public high school, the High School of Music and Art, I painted watercolors of all the ships there and the boats. And then of course, all of the exciting educational opportunities with the Clearwater just makes me really excited to see something here. And let's not forget, we live on an island. We've got water all over or around us. We should, I think, embrace that and embellish it. So I'm really excited about it. The thing, and I know that we're not speaking on the aesthetic, I really appreciate that you use the word nature, because when I first saw this presentation, it looked to me like the top of the Hearst Castle on 50, not Hearst Castle, excuse me, the Hearst Tower on 57th Street. You know, it's very geometric, and I don't see any influence of marine or, nautical influence or nature. Oh, I guess, okay, sails, so there's the delta there, but to me, it doesn't speak to that, that's just me. So, right.
A green
So,
roof.
a green roof, okay, well, you can only see that from, I guess. Well, so look, I'm very excited to see see it here, and I will say that, to Ken's point, the money is earmarked already, and I do think that the money, and I don't think they're fair comparisons, like, of course, we support our libraries, I don't think, I think it's different buckets of money, and, I support this project coming to us. I do hope that, as Mark said, the 8th iteration is going to be better and warmer and nicer, but generally much improved over the 7 iterations.
Please come for me. Next
Yes,
time.
I watched them all too.
Yeah.
Okay, I sailed on the Clearwater with Pete Seeger. So, other than that, I think the educational opportunity of the Clearwater and others, very powerful, very important to our community. Second, location, we want better location. The design, everybody's gonna have their opinion about a design, okay? It's not my favorite, but sure, but that doesn't matter, as long as it's not gross and, it's looked like it's improving. And most of all, I think this is an aspect of the west side that's been there, and we'd like to see it be everything to me. And so I appreciate the resolution was supported, because it left out the things that we can't do anything about, okay? And put in the important things, and I think everyone should support it.
I know that Avi has his hand up. Is there anybody who has not spoken at all? Okay, anybody online, Alex? No? I know, so we're going back to him now that everybody has spoken.
I'll be quick. From my understanding, when we use government funding to build a building, we earmark specific number of units for affordable housing, right? If we're gonna look at it from this perspective, then we should do the same thing with the marina. From what I heard from the presentation, and correct me if I'm mistaken, there are not a set number of slips designated for any of the programs mentioned or designated for people who are living on board. If we're really gonna spend $90 million.
The board will come back.
Yeah.
They have been promised.
Priority.
Come back and
Right.
exactly.
They have it in.
The same rate that they paid.
That's not the same thing. The people are, they are guaranteed first served coming back, but for the future, there is not a guaranteed percentage to be given for livable community.
Of the slips that would include number of yachts, et cetera, that you're referencing. So it is more diverse and equitably formatted
Okay,
program.
so in the resolution, I would like to see us talk about, at least that we would like to see designated number of slips, whatever the percentages, or programs, or not just selling, certain slips are only big enough for certain boats. And secondly, if we don't do that, I still think there is an opportunity to advocate, if the money's already earmarked, to change for the cost structure, the price structure. It's very well, again, other marinas are expensive, but again, this is Manhattan, and not all of it is for public use and public programming.
You want to take it out of affordable again?
No, not all of it would be affordable, so it requires, we can have some of it be affordable, some of it raise the structure to actually, raise the pricing to actually create revenue. That's something that we can work with right now, with the project.
Natasha, I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need the mic.
Oh, okay.
Has, in any of the presentations, have they told you if they will be dredging and making slips deeper than they once were?
They are dredging.
They are dredging.
That is one of the stated goals right from the beginning. They have, and that is partly why the cost is so high, because anytime, and by the way, all the work will be done on the water. Like all the staging will happen on the water. There will be nothing in the park itself. Did somebody ever, who wanted to? No. Okay, anybody else? I think Daria.
Question.
So I wanted to let you guys know that the revenue that comes in to the marina actually gets put into a wider generic. It doesn't go straight to, supports the greater city's infrastructure, parks, and all these other things. So it does help out libraries or various other places too within the city. Second, so one of the things that they made clear is that the size of the marina is the minimum size that they could get to, given all the codes, and the height was the minimum height they get to support a marina this size. So it's not like they can, it's not like they're trying to make it as big as possible. They did have to give up a lot of extras. It's not a marina that's going to pull in Jeff Bezos, because the shower facilities are not gonna be up to par. So you don't have to worry about that. They really did have to compromise in order to get it to this small. So when I say minimum, they did have, that was their compromise, that this is not gonna be the marina that serves almost everybody. And second, I wanted to echo Kristen's point. I think that it's very important for our youngest members in our community to develop a really good relationship to our river and the environment around us. I think that the programming that comes through reminds them of what's important from a resiliency standpoint, from an environmental standpoint. And the programming in the past has done that. And given that the size is now doubled, now we have 2 bathrooms instead of 1. That this is going to, which by the way, with a class of 30 public kids is a big problem. It's a big problem. But now that we have that, you can get more people in, the capacity is greater. And so to me, that's only very, it's a very good thing for our entire community.
No, who's gonna respond? I wanted to respond to a lot of things that have been said over here. There's been a lot of conflation, like when people talk about libraries or making money on something like, I work on the Parks and I serve on the Parks and Environment Committee. We get playground renovation projects all the time, at least once a month. And the one thing that the city has very simply just stopped spending money on is restrooms, so there's no decent restroom in any park or playground anymore. They've just stopped spending money. So, you're talking about an $89, $90 million. Yes, there is inflation. Yes, it costs a lot of money, but the city it doesn't have much money. It doesn't have money to build even a single restroom. And, there's like millions of dollars for playground renovations, but there's no money for restrooms. We can't keep our libraries open now. I don't even know in the latest iteration how many days they're open, and then we're sitting here and beating up on the EDC because they want to generate revenue for the city. I think it's just not the same thing. There's also this question about what are we getting out of it, and that is something. It's actually something that I heard Carey mention back in 2019 when they first came to us. It was a question that I heard from her, and I've thought of it all this while. And education, expanded education programming for everyone, for not just school kids, but also dock master trainings. They have those over there. They have the billion oyster project going on over there. There are many, many different opportunities. There's a sailing school, I believe, not one, but more than one sailing schools operate out of there. There's of course the liveaboard community that had to just pack up and leave. We're not even sure where they are anymore, and I think different people have spoken about them, and we want them back. And we can talk about affordability of housing, but then we don't want the marina that could possibly have at least some population of that. Access to the river, Kristen already talked about it. This will be the first time that the marina is fully hooked up to all utilities in the city, electric, sewage, everything. It will be fully accessible for the first time in its history. And that's for everyone. The marina is open to everyone. So if you are compromised in your ability, you can go there and enjoy the entire marina. And just generally using the river, it's a huge luxury for all of us. So I think everybody knows how I voted for it. You can vote for it however you like. But I do hope that you don't give up this opportunity to engage more with the river. So with that, I would like to call the question.
Okay, open the voting.
Okay, last for the night. Get the votes in. Yeah, hopefully. We got 14-3-1-0 so far. 24-4-1-0. I to the left.
Hang on.
Get your votes in.
We at least have a quorum, so we're okay.
Probably, yes. Everyone voted? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, it passes 29-4-2-0. 29-4-2-0.
Thank you. That is our last vote. However, there is a member of the public who's been very patient. I'm not sure what issue she has wished to speak on, but I would like to enable her comment since she's been very patient. And we weren't able to promote her earlier. Max, can you?
You're good to go.
I'm sorry?
Promoted, good to go.
Okay. I believe you're.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you all for your service to the community. And I just want to remind you that I'm just as tired as you are, having waited 3 hours to speak. And I appreciate you listening to me, okay? My name is Mary Avancho. I'm with the West 73rd Block Association, and we have feedback to the board on the dining application process, which is ongoing and where applications are available last minute, which makes it difficult, if not impossible, for community involvement. We've been informed CB7 has no control when DOT applications come through, that Mark Diller is reviewing the applications, making his recommendations to business and transportation committees, that applications may or may not go to the full board vote and sent directly to DOT. On the contrary, other community boards, for example, CB2 Manhattan, where Mark Diller is district manager, is posting online applications with more time for public comment, and where the review of applications is by 6 persons, and where the public can comment online, and where recommendations are also posted online. For our board to streamline this process by a single person review and not make applications available to the public within a reasonable time is not at all fair to the community. This process, I'm almost finished, hang on. This process may be amended to better accommodate community input. And the 4 points are: the public must be given reasonable time to comment. Applications should not be submitted to CB7 24 hours before a meeting and expect that to be enough time for public review. There should be a cutoff date on an application prior to the joint meeting. What that is, I don't know, but that's what we're proposing. that be amended, and there should be a location on the website, definitely, where the public can comment on an application and where we can include comments. This is a permanent program that's been going on for a long time, citywide, every block, every street, but we need to be able to provide input. That's very important. And the review process should be by more than one person at the 3 minimum. And applications bypassing a full board vote is not something that we're necessarily happy with. We understand their holidays and everything else, but this is a permanent program. So if something can be done about that, we'd be grateful. Thank you.
I believe that some of what you said is ill-informed.
Yeah.
There is not one person who is making a decision here. It is 2 full committees in public session where people are welcome to attend and comment. And we do try to get as early as we can before those meetings, all of the applications we have up on the website for review. So I don't know quite where your information is coming from, but it does not accurately reflect the process that we have voted on and approved as a group. So perhaps if you wish to follow up with our office, we can respond in writing so that you have that information in detail. Mark, would you wish to make further comments?
Wait, Beverly, may I just jump in? I have mentioned it just to you and everyone in the room. I should all dance. Thanks. To everyone in the room, we have Mary's part of the group that we meet with, and I have provided this information to the group. I think most of the group understands that. Perhaps we could have been more clear. I'll make sure we're a little bit more clear on that. I think Mark, you as well. Back on the
District manager, and I won't go into point by point, but the 2 things I want to say. One is that the resolution that CB7 adopted to try to make sure that our voice is heard in those circumstances in which there is no full board vote in time. CB2 also is contemplating. So that is just a stopgap to make sure that no community is without some opportunity. And the timing is set by the regulations by the Department of Transportation. Our board submitted detailed proposals to say that timing should be vastly different, and they were not accepted. So we're with you. We want the community, and then the last point is, they look like I did some homework, so I had some things for the committee to chew on, but that's not the same thing as me deciding. I think tonight's, if you're here for the whole meeting, I think you'll know that just because I propose something doesn't mean it gets adopted by the full board. So I respect and remember working with you about 6 years ago, 4 years ago about Arte Pasta. Your concerns are important to us and we want to hear them. But it's not one person's vote. I think I'll leave it there.
Oh, yeah. And I did mention it at the meeting that we were at earlier, Mary, but the opportunity for you to come and speak isn't necessarily a paper-based one or a form for input. You need to come to the meeting, and we're even going to hold those meetings throughout the summer. Because as I said earlier, where you're going to be envisioned more of these dining out NYC applications coming through the summer. So the committee, or the joint committees are going to continue to meet.
With that,
the motion to adjourn.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much for coming. A few things. First of all, the budget negotiations, I can say they're going well. We're very, very, very far apart. We're a week to go. And the Daily News actually has a big article about it tomorrow in the paper. I won't get into all the specifics, but suffice to say, we're all going to be fighting for the next 2 days to say to the mayor, you are not negotiating in a way that we think is appropriate. Library is number 1. He's not putting in library money. The city council is putting in some, like, for his share in also. Not happy. Number 2, I love interviewing Ethel Shepherd last night because he's now a member of the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much to the Hall of Fame for giving me that opportunity. I will say that I wasn't happy with the rent guidelines for, they really came up with some pretty high numbers, and I think with the folks who are in the affordable housing need to continue. I want to give the Attorney General credit because he went after the withdrawal settlement, bringing $27 million to New York City for the company which literally advertises illegal products to young people. And so half of it will go to the Department of Health and half of it will go to the Department of Education. And I think for those of you interested in schools, we should figure out if there's some school projects that would make sense for this district. I am concerned, talking about my favorite topic, which are the smoke shops. There have been about 12 closed, and we have 3 legitimate ones, but the one that is particularly still there is the one near Brandeis High School. And those students unfortunately are going into the 87th Street Community Garden and still sitting on people's stoops. I have to give the teachers and the principals credit. They're out there 3 times a day trying to get the students back into the school. So we're continuing. So that is a big issue. I'm also just want to bring up, I want to talk about the dock. I did a great job, but there are about 9 people, just so it's clear, who will be returning. I'm going to be fighting like crazy to make sure they get the same rent. But there were at one point a deal with an attorney hired by the people, liver boards, as they're called, to have 52 slots that would go for those who are liver boards. Well, what happened was I wasn't smart enough and we were part of the deal because people, they rented it for the whole friggin' year, right? Trying to game the system because they wanted to be there during the summer. Because they had enough money to do that. They're not, big yachts. But that's not what we were talking about. We wanted it for liver boards. And the fire department hates liver boards. So it's going to be a discussion that's ongoing. The ABC site. This is a very big challenge that I want to thank Board 7, is that the Planning Commission, Landmarks West, and George James, and the owner, Excel, all of their suggestions, and I found money for George James Group Foundation to take all these ideas and try to come up with something, God help us, that would make sense for Board 7, would make sense for the community, would make sense for affordable housing, would make sense for landmark housing, would make sense for the developer. So let's see what happens. They're working on it now. It's slow. It's a very big project because the way that Lincoln Square Special District, others know better than I, works is it has 0 affordable housing. It has a tower, but has 0 affordable housing. I want on-site affordable housing. There will be a hotel. I have no trouble with that. The union and like they want to do a hotel fine. So this is a challenge to put it in mind, but we will work together on it. I just want to let you know that's what's going on with that. Back to the rotunda, there would be bathrooms in the rotunda. So for the folks using the Clearwater, when we were listening to your discussion the other night, John Harold, the administrator, indicated that there will also be bathrooms in the rotunda, like 20 bathrooms. So that was a good 20 bathrooms, not tomorrow, but it will take a while, but there were originally 40, but they're going to do 20. Next year, I just want to mention one thing to put on your agenda. I'm a big believer that the 3 and 3 and all the other acronyms need to rise to $50,000 now. So the state is interested. I just did a resolution that said if you're on 3 and 3, it should be tied to the consumer price index. So that would give just an example, like 62,000 would be an example of where the ceiling would be for people who are eligible. 50 grand, many West Siders don't get to be eligible. So I just want to say, I would suggest a resolution on that or some discussion, because it's my understanding that the state will take that up next year very seriously, and I'd love to have us be part of that. We've been working a lot with the migrants on the West Side, mostly keeping them in the schools. That's been like, we're like the Underground Railroad, every principal, parent coordinator, falls up. When that goddamn 30 and 60 days fix that family, and then they have to move, and then they hopefully stay in Manhattan. Because sometimes they get sent to Queens, you cannot get the kids to PS 87 from the airport in the morning. So we're working really hard. We're almost 100% successful. We sometimes send people rolling down to the local hotel at midnight so that they do not get sent to Queens. And if they're literally, sometimes we stop them if they're on the way on the bus. So that's the kind of craziness that these families have to go through, that we're working. And the parents at JCC and the synagogues and the churches on the West Side, you should be very proud. They're just extraordinary. Thank you very much. I don't want the yellow pass again, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.